Chapter 3871. My name is Lin Ling. However, the shock did not end there. His third dantian broke through. Feng Qiuyu muttered to himself, this realm essence has probably reached the peak of its peak. However, the fourth, fifth, and sixth broke through again. Every time his dantian broke through, the terrifying aura was like an avalanche. Could this be a half-step martial god realm Jiayuan? Lin Ling still grabbed Autumn Rain Listener's hand, but he was already powerless to kneel down. This was because Lin Ling didn't even use his innate talent. Just the waves of boundary essence had already shocked him to the point that he was completely powerless. The 6 dantians were equivalent to the boundary essences of 6 mid-stage martial progenitors. In terms of boundary essences, Lin Ling was a few times stronger than Ting Feng Qiuyu. As for talent, there was no need to talk about it. Everyone's jaws dropped. They had imagined Lin Ling's right arm being torn apart by Ting Feng Qiuyu's claw, and they had imagined his legs being broken, and they had even imagined him being beaten to his knees. However, they had never imagined such an outcome. Ouch ouch ouch. As for Ting Feng Qiuyu, whose hand was grabbed by Lin Ling, he constantly shouted out. He could sense that not only was this youth's boundary essence terrifying, but his fleshly body strength was also terrifying. However, Lin Ling didn't say anything. His eyes suddenly turned cold. Although he was fishing in the Kurishin territory and calmed his heart, it did not mean that Lin Ling would be soft-hearted. When fishing, one is as immovable as a mountain. When the fish is hooked, the moment it moves, it will be as powerful as thunder. Crack crack. Lin Ling exerted a bit of force with his right hand, and Autumn Rain's palm immediately twisted like a fried dough twist. His 5 fingers turned outwards, and he cried out in pain. Tears even flowed out. The second floor was silent. Countless people on the first floor peeked their heads up to see who was screaming. But when they saw who was screaming, all of them had their mouths agape. Was this the newcomer king? Ting Feng Qiuyu didn't have time to curse because the 10 fingers were connected to the heart. Moreover, his talent was displayed on the palm. Now that his 5 fingers were crippled, he almost fainted from the pain. However, Lin Ling's eyes turned cold, and his left hand also slapped Ting Feng Qiuyu's dantian. Today, if the golden white evil spirit wasn't here, and if he wasn't strong enough, this guy would definitely cripple him. Therefore, Lin Ling would never show mercy to those who wanted to cripple him. Even teaching Ting Feng Qiuyu how to behave. You know nothing about power. After the palm hit, countless evil ghost jellyfish surged out from the palm and rushed into Autumn Rain Ting's body. Then, they started to devour him. Ting Feng Qiuyu's body trembled as he screamed even louder. He could feel that his dantian was collapsing because a mysterious force was rushing in and devouring everything. He was instantly shocked. His 8th grade ultimate desolate body could not withstand this person's attack. However, Lin Ling also quickly retracted his palm, but also turned it into a hand blade, fiercely chopping out. Blood gushed out. Ting Feng Qiuyu's legs were forcefully severed, and he was sent flying. He crashed onto the ground and rolled around in pain. This scene caused everyone to tremble. They had clearly seen through something. Ting Feng Qiuyu had been crippled. His legs had also been severed. 5 of his fingers had been twisted off. Could it be that the blue-robed youth was from one of the strongest circles in the 3rd hall? At this moment, everyone's faces turned pale as cold sweat dripped down their foreheads. Kill him. Kill him. Kill. Ting Feng Qiuyu, who was on the ground, no longer had Ting Feng's elegance. He roared at Lin Ling like a hooligan. This was because he had been crippled. Although his talent still existed, it would probably take him a few hundred years to return to his current realm. He might even need to undergo tribulations again. If he wasn't careful, he might be crippled for life. This. Kill. The legs of Ting Feng Qiuyu's juniors were trembling. How could they dare to move? The blue-robed youth's methods were too ruthless. Kill him. If not, How are you going to answer to the dean when you return? Kill. Upon seeing this, Ting Fengqiu roared again. That's right. The juniors thought of the dignified dean. At this moment, they released their boundary force and glared at Lin Ling. Even if they were no match for Lin Ling, they should at least demand an explanation from Lin Ling. Upon seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head. He was helpless against this group of idiots. Soon, the tyrannical song sword appeared in Lin Ling's hand and he slashed gently. Let's think about this when we return to the academy. Slash. With this slash, the juniors' legs were all severed. Fresh blood dyed the floor of the second floor red. One should know that these juniors were all late-stage and peak-stage martial ancestors. However, they could not block this slash. Moreover, he slashed wherever he wanted. His control over his strength was 10 times more ferocious than Ting Fengqiu's. The crowd's eyes continued to tremble. This slash was too powerful. Then, they looked at the people who were rolling on the ground and shuddered. They could not wait to leave this place immediately. This was especially so for those who had bickered with Tian Ao earlier. They were so frightened that they almost knelt down. This was because they had told Tian Ao and the others how powerful Ting Fengqiu was. However, the people they had said were powerful had their elixir fields destroyed and their legs broken. They had become disabled. The difference between their imagination and reality was too great. Shopkeeper. At this moment, Lin Ling slowly put away his sword and looked at the shopkeeper calmly. Young hero, please speak, please speak. Yes. The shopkeeper immediately nodded and bowed. He did not dare to raise his head to look at Lin Ling. He did not expect that after meeting so many customers in his life, there would be one that he did not dare to look directly at. I'm sorry for destroying your restaurant. I'll give you another 100 million royal crystals. Is that enough? Yes. Lin Ling tidied up and said with a smile. It's enough, it's enough. Actually, I don't need that much. In total, I don't even need 100 royal crystals. These things are not worth much. The shopkeeper quickly waved his hand and said. It's okay. 100 million royal crystals are not worth much to me. All right. Lin Ling nodded at Tian Ao and the others and strode up the stairs to the second floor. The shopkeeper's heart trembled when he heard this. 100 million royal crystals wasn't worth much. Moreover, his opponent had said that he wanted to cripple him, so he had acted decisively and crippled him in return. This was a cultivator who could travel the world freely. Seeing that Lin Ling and the others were about to leave, Ting Fengqiu and the others on the ground were shocked and quickly crawled away. Hee, I forgot. I told you to get lost but you didn't. You wanted us to do it. All right. Suddenly, Tian Ao stopped. Then, he took a step forward and kicked everyone on the ground like sandbags. Rumble. One of the walls of the restaurant was kicked open and a large number of people fell from the second floor. It was extremely embarrassing. They've all been kicked out. All right. This caused the hearts of all the powerhouses on the first floor to tremble. However, at this time, Lin Ling and the others also walked down the stairs from the second floor. Wherever they passed, everyone subconsciously made way for them. Those who had cursed at Tianao before, under Tianao's fierce glare, did not dare to raise their heads and look at him. After Lin Ling and the others left the restaurant, they also walked down the street. However, Lin Ling also noticed the resentful eyes of Ting Fengqiu on the ground. Chapter 3872. Enter the ancient dragon desolate land. As soon as these words were spoken, the street fell silent. Ting Fengqiu's eyes widened in disbelief. He naturally knew who Lin Ling was, but he never imagined that Lin Ling's strength would be so powerful. He was several times stronger than him. He believed that he was the 9th best newcomer, but Lin Ling was probably in the top 3 newcomers. He was even more certain that Lin Ling was one of the strongest people in the Shinsan Hall. As for those people in the restaurant who had previously evaluated Lin Ling, they were all scared to the point of breaking out in a cold sweat. Heavens, they actually dared to speak nonsense in front of Lin Ling? Not to mention that Lin Ling was inferior to Ting Feng Qiuyu. When they thought of this, their legs went weak and they almost fainted. Wind Snow Academy's Lin Ling, the expert who defeated Duan Wuhen. He's really powerful. His strength is clearly stronger than when he was in the Yi Garden because he defeated an 8th grade talent effortlessly. Yeah, I can also see that he hasn't used his true strength at all. After a while, the crowd began to discuss among themselves. I heard that he's going to fight with Longmyang. Although he's not as good as Longmyang, his strength isn't just for show. Someone suddenly shouted, causing the entire street to become even more silent. At the very least, the people from the various academies knew that Lin Ling had entered the top 300 of the heavenly stairway. Regarding this, other than jealousy, what was left was reverence. Moreover, they were very curious about Lin Ling's ultimate strength. At this moment, Lin Ling and the rest had already found another restaurant. They stayed there that night and quietly waited for the opening of the ancient dragon wasteland the next day. On the same night, Lin Ling sat with his legs crossed. Currently, his 6 Dantians had all reached the 6th layer martial progenitor realm, thus he was able to enter the dragon ancient desolate land at his peak. And the experts gathered in the dragon ancient wasteland were probably not weak. There should be a lot of experts ranked in the top 300 of the divine list, including some old monsters. These experts were not on the divine list, but their strength should not be underestimated. In addition, the experts from the 9 prefectures' 10 evils, the Duan clan, Miao Shen's true disciples, and the heaven-seeking alliance were not to be underestimated either. With Lin Ling's current strength, there was nothing to be proud of in the dragon ancient wasteland. However, what Lin Ling cared about the most was still the immortal temple. I don't know what kind of treasures are in the Kuroshin shop of God, or how to buy them. If I can find the treasures I need, then my strength will be greatly improved. However, I'm already late by 3 months. Some of the warriors who arrived first have obviously taken advantage of me. Lin Ling mumbled to himself. The next day, the ancient city was bustling with noise and excitement. All the martial artists had woken up early and were walking towards a huge plaza. Behind the plaza was a gap, which was obviously the entrance to the ancient dragon wasteland. The huge gap was about 200 meters wide, with colorful lights on its surface. It looked sacred, but it also prevented anyone from getting close. Looking at the people walking around, most of them were experts from the academy. They were in groups of 3 to 5, forming an alliance. Lin Ling, why don't we form an alliance too? Zhong Jin suddenly said as he followed Lin Ling Tian Ao, and the rest nodded their heads immediately. If they were to join other alliances and be bullied, they would not be able to take it. Therefore, they might as well form an alliance with Lin Ling. Lin Ling did not care about alliances. However, since it was mentioned, he nodded his head and said, in that case, why don't we call it the God Slayer Alliance? All right. Tian Ao and the rest had no objections. They did not care about the name of the alliance, as long as they could form an alliance. Then, they looked around and saw that the surroundings were filled with passionate voices. They were all alliances. These people were very excited about the upcoming trip to the ancient dragon wasteland. This was because they had come for the god's shop. If they were lucky, they would be able to obtain a great opportunity and rise to the top. Tian Ao and the rest were affected by the atmosphere and clenched their fists. Rise to the top. They were looking forward to it. Today is the opening day of the ancient dragon wasteland. It is also the only day of this month. The next time it opens will be next month. This opening will last for 6 months. At this moment, an ancient voice rang out. At the edge of the gap, on top of a huge rock, an old man in plain clothes stood there quietly and said with contempt. So it lasts for 6 months. Thank you, Senior, for telling me. Senior, where can I get a place? I want to bring my junior to the wasteland next month. Senior, you should be a rank 10 divine paladin. Immediately, the plaza was filled with chatter. Noisy. But at this moment, the old man shouted angrily. Everyone was so scared that they did not dare to open their mouths. You bunch of ants. If I tell you to go in, then go in. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you think this experience is for you? Remember, this is for the participants under the God's veil. You are just here to make up the numbers. Now, all of you, get in. Of course, don't think that going in is a game. It is very dangerous inside. It is more dangerous than you can imagine. That is the end of the Kai Yuan River. You will reach the other side of the Kai Yuan River after walking through the wasteland. At least 80% of you will die there. Those who are timid, you better go home and take care of your children. His words were like thunder. Everyone did not dare to speak, but they were also afraid of the ancient dragon wasteland. This senior is so fierce. Tian Ao and the rest were whispering. On the other hand, Lin Ling smiled. In his heart, he thought, that senior is fierce, but if I, Lin Ling, take out some tobacco, would that senior kneel down immediately? Rumble. At this moment, the multicolored lights in the huge gap in front of them flowed like water and reached the ground. Then, a dense vitality filled the air, causing everyone's minds to be shaken. Next, everyone entered one after another. The gap in the abandoned lode was hundreds of meters wide. Searching in the gap was like walking in a canyon. But at this moment, no one spoke. The canyon was very quiet. Everyone looked into the distance, incomparably excited. Finally, they walked out of the canyon. Up ahead, an ancient forest appeared before everyone's eyes. This forest was not lush, and the ground was a withered yellow color. Ancient trees grew sparsely, and these trees were of all kinds of strange shapes. Some people even saw willow trees. This made many people dumbfounded. But then again, how could willow trees grow in this place? However, they did not think too much about it. They quickly took out their voice transmission talismans and began to inform others. Obviously, they were informing the seniors who had entered the wasteland earlier than them. Chapter 3873. Salt Pans. Seeing the alliance members leave one after another, Tian Ao and the others wanted to say something but stopped. Because they weren't familiar with this place and wanted to ask those people. Let's go. However, Lin Ling knew that even if he asked, those people wouldn't say anything. And this was the advantage of being in a big alliance. Someone had already entered this place and had a rough understanding of this place. They could then inform the people who entered later. A small alliance didn't have such an advantage, especially for a 4 or 5 person alliance like Lin Ling's. It was even more difficult. Everything had to depend on oneself. Tianao and the others immediately followed Lin Ling. However, Zhuang Yanming also asked, Lin Ling, where are we going now? Let's go find the shop of God. Once we get there, the truth will be revealed. Lin Ling smiled faintly. Everyone came here for the shop of God. As long as they found the shop of God, they would be able to familiarize themselves with all the rules here. For example, how to purchase treasures. Moreover, Lin Ling knew that the immortal temple must be there as well since all the overlords were gathered at the shop of God. Lin Ling would be able to find an Yuer. Alright. Tian Ao and the rest obviously regarded Lin Ling as their leader and nodded. Walking along the ancient land, after a long time, more and more people began to appear in front of them. Clearly, there were many people like Lin Ling and the others in the small alliance. These people either had ordinary backgrounds or were arrogant and didn't want to join the big alliance. Therefore, they chose to cooperate with a few people and headed towards their destination. As for the names of the alliances, they were also extremely pleasing to the ear, such as the Domination Alliance, the Invincible Alliance, the Renhua Alliance, and so on. Furthermore, some of these alliances came earlier than Lin Ling and the others, so they were somewhat familiar with the ancient dragon wasteland. After suffering some losses, they also roped in other alliances, formed allies, and advanced forward. This way, it would be much safer. Lin Ling and the rest were very careful along the way, but they also encountered danger on the way. When they passed by an ancient lake, endless poisonous fog suddenly spread out. If Lin Ling did not discover it early, Tian Ao and the rest would definitely be injured. They ran madly all the way and finally escaped the poisonous fog of the ancient lake. After that, Tian Ao and the others felt like they had been given a new lease of life. They even asked Lin Ling what those things were. Because they also noticed that the poison was extremely terrifying, and it wasn't something that an ordinary person could resist. Among them, Luo Wuchang breathed in a small mouthful of the poisonous mist, and his whole body was immediately paralyzed, unable to move. I can't say for sure either. I feel like it's released by a huge flower at the bottom of the ancient lake. Lin Ling was also puzzled because this was the first time he had seen such a strange plant. As for the poisonous fog, his soul force detected that it was pollen. Therefore, he estimated that the pollen could paralyze people. Next, the flowers hidden in the ancient lake would devour the paralyzed people. Because at the bottom of the ancient lake, Lin Ling's soul force also detected many white bones. This place is not simple. Everyone, be careful. After experiencing this unforeseen event, Lin Ling and the others were no doubt more cautious. However, after they crossed a large area, there were even more scattered alliances around. Moreover, these alliances were gathered in front of a salt pan in twos and threes, as if they were waiting for something. Looking at the side of the salt pan, there were quite a number of people. However, Lin Ling and the others could also see that these people were from the small alliance, and they seemed to be preparing to go to God's shop. Looking at the endless salt pan in front of them, it seemed to be desolate and uninhabited. Only ancient plants could be vaguely seen, and in the haze, they looked like devils baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. 6 people. However, when Lin Ling and the others approached the salt pan, someone took the initiative to greet them. Looking around, there were a total of 4 people, and they seemed to be from the same small alliance. Moreover, looking at their clothes, they seemed to be from different schools. It's like this. We are planning to go to God's shop in the middle of the wasteland. So, we would like to ask if you would like to go with us, and we can be allies. The leader was very tall, and he had a thick beard. After walking over, he laughed heartily. God's shop. Tianao and the others suddenly brightened up, because this was also their goal. Moreover, until now, they did not know the direction, so if they followed these people, it would be much more convenient. I can see that you have just arrived not long ago, so you don't know the direction of God's shop. Speaking of which, we also spent a month to find out. Moreover, we know that if you want to explore the ancient dragon wasteland, you must first report to God's shop. The bearded man said again, and told them everything he knew. Report to God's shop. Lin Ling was suddenly puzzled. Yes, although I don't know the reason, the people from the other alliances said so. But I guess, it seems that only by recording your name in God's shop, you can start to buy treasures, and record the things you need to buy the treasures. The bearded man continued. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded. It seemed that they could only go to God's shop first. Then, Lin Ling asked politely, do you know what dangers there are in the salt pan ahead? Haha. I'm not too sure about this, but I heard that the salt pan is very dangerous. After all, we only arrived a month earlier than you. Most importantly, we have been lost for a month, and have been walking around blindly. Speaking of this, the bearded man said with an embarrassed face, scratching the back of his head. Brother, it's all your fault for being stupid. At this time, a petite and somewhat cute girl beside him laughed. Brother? The corners of Tianao and the others' eyes twitched. The girl in front of them was petite and cute, and the bearded man was burly like a bear, with iron-like chest muscles and a face full of beard. Are they siblings? As if she had guessed everyone's surprise, the girl said with a smile, my name is Chen Ting, and this is my brother, Chen Wu. We are indeed siblings, and we are both from Flying Feather College. By the way, do you want to form an alliance with us? She seemed to be quite generous. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded. It was better to have someone he knew to lead the way. Seeing Lin Ling nodding his head, the girl smiled, revealing 2 cute dimples. She was so charming that she attracted Tianao's attention, and Tianao's face turned red. My sister and I are both half-step to martial gods. In fact, my sister is more powerful than me, and we are forming an alliance. By the way, where are you from? So what if you are powerful? After all, we are allies, and we will walk out of this salt pan together. Chen Wu spoke, and he went straight to the point. Half-step to martial god realm? Tianao and the others' hearts skipped a beat. They had not expected the 2 of them to be so powerful. Tianao had wanted to show off his strength in front of Chen Ting, but it seemed that he had better not embarrass himself. Chapter 3874. God's Descendants. These people should be ranked in the top 400 on the heaven stairway. Then, Lin Ling looked at the others who were attacking the alliance. My name is Wu Jiang, Tianlai Academy, Peak Martial Ancestor. Seeing Lin Ling and the others looking at him, one of the young men smiled and spoke. He looked dignified and his words were sincere. He gave people a good impression. It was the turn of the last person. This person was not tall, with a pair of mung bean eyes that flickered from time to time, and a slightly thin face like a zombie's face. However, he was not polite when he spoke. Tianlai Academy? Huh, a very weak academy. Anyway, it's really not easy to get a place. Wu Jiang immediately frowned because he knew that the latter was talking about him. However, he endured it. After all, they were in the same alliance. He had to give face to Chen Wu. The thin young man smiled and said proudly, My name is Xian Yi. After speaking, he dragged his voice and said arrogantly, Half-step martial god, from Yi Garden. Yi Garden was ranked 4th among the 36 academies. No wonder he was so proud. Compared to him, the other people's origins were indeed very dim. We are all from Snow Wind Academy. He is Tian Ao, Zhongjin, Luo Wuchang, Peak Martial Ancestor, and I am Lin Ling, Mid Martial Ancestor. We are from the God-Slaying Alliance. After the introduction, Lin Ling said lightly. As for the platinum evil spirit behind him, Lin Ling did not explain anything. Chen Ting and the others were stunned. There was no half-step martial god expert. And Snow Wind Academy? This academy seemed to be ranked at the bottom. Are you kidding me? Snow Wind Academy sent you here to die. To be honest, I don't think these people can help us. Xian Yi was stunned for a moment, but he immediately spoke. It turned out that they were from Snow Wind Academy. If he remembered correctly, Lin Ling seemed to have defeated many of their juniors in the exchange meeting of the 8 academies. Of course, in his eyes, this was all because he was from the E generation. The E generation's strength and status in E Garden were higher than Shin San Hall's. In other words, he was equivalent to Lin Ling's senior. Xian Yi, don't talk nonsense. Meanwhile, Chen Wu spoke indifferently. Humph. However, Xian Yi did not give him any face at all. If you're so powerful, then leave by yourself. However, Chen Ting also opened her mouth to say something, which made Xian Yi finally fall silent. However, her pair of beady eyes quietly looked at Chen Ting's chest, as if she was thinking about something. There's no time to waste. Let's set off, everyone. Then, Chen Ting looked at Lin Ling and the others and said. Although the cultivation levels of Lin Ling and the others weren't high, there were still quite a number of them. Moreover, they had spent a lot of time here, so they wanted to hurry on their way. After a while, they also entered the salt pan. Looking into the distance, Lin Ling and the others found that the salt pan was very big. The ground was dry, and there were only strange withered trees on the ground, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. It was very creepy. However, they didn't dare to underestimate this place because Chen Ting and the others had heard that there were many hidden dangers in the salt pan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have cooperated with the other alliances. Indeed, after they had traveled for half a day, the ground quietly cracked open. Then, a toad as big as a calf crawled out. The toad was white and looked ferocious. It seemed to be a species from the era of the deities. White liquid kept dripping from its body and dripping onto the ground. The salt pan was also corroded. "Everyone, be careful." Seeing this, everyone prepared themselves for battle. Croak. The toad stared at them coldly. It seemed that there was very little food in the salt pan, so Lin Ling and the others were food that it couldn't afford to lose. Suddenly, it opened its mouth and spat out white liquid. Its speed had reached the speed of 1,000 realms speed. This time, everyone's expression changed greatly. Fortunately, they were still far away, so they dispersed. Lin Ling's eyes flashed with a strange light. He stretched out his hand and dodged with Zhuang Yanming. "Thank you." After dodging the liquid, Zhuang Yanming said gratefully. He was the weakest in their alliance. Previously, he was afraid that he couldn't dodge the strange poison. Then, everyone turned around to look, and their expressions changed drastically. After the white liquid mist, it all fell onto the ground. The salt pan was corroded, and a poisonous gas quietly spread. One should know that the salt pan had been there for thousands of years. It was harder than divine artifacts, but it was still corroded. This showed how powerful the poison was. Lin Ling also found that everything in the ancient dragon wasteland was very ancient and seemed to be related to poison. Croak. At this time, the white toad let out a deafening cry. Then, the lumps on its body exploded, and a large amount of white poison gushed out like a volcano. Then, it pounced on everyone. "This toad is too cunning." Chen Wu cursed angrily. The poison was terrifying, but the toad had pounced on them. Didn't it mean that they had nowhere to run? "I'll do it." However, at this moment, the taciturn Wu Jiang dashed forward. A majestic glaive appeared in his hand. The glaive was filled with extremely powerful progenitor force. Lin Ling sensed that the glaive was filled with 80% of progenitor force. It was a very impressive strength. "Wu Jiang, watch out." However, Chen Ting and the others shouted. After all, Wu Jiang was only at the peak of the martial progenitor realm. However, even Chen Ting and the other half-martial gods had to avoid the toad. Wouldn't Wu Jiang be courting death? Seeing Wu Jiang leaping into the air and slashing down with his glaive, the toad spat out even more poison. The poison was like sulfuric acid that could corrode everything. "Wu Jiang, come back quickly." At that instant, Chen Wu yelled too. Chen Ting could not bear to watch it any longer, as she was afraid that Wu Jiang would be corroded into a pile of bones. As for Xian Yi, he wore a disdainful grin. Even a half-martial god did not dare to interfere, but this kid was trying to be a hero. Was he an idiot? "Lin Ling, look." Meanwhile, Tianao and the others immediately glanced at Lin Ling, implying that they were hoping for Lin Ling to lend them a hand. After all, even though Lin Ling's cultivation was not high, they could sense that Lin Ling was the strongest among the two alliances. "It's fine." However, Lin Ling shook his head and said. He had no intention of interfering. Instead, he stared at the ground behind the toad with flickering eyes. He was not worried about Wu Jiang at all. The reason being that he had discovered a mysterious aura from Wu Jiang's body. The aura did not originate from his talent, but from a bracelet. As expected, as the poison was about to reach Wu Jiang's body, for mysterious words suddenly appeared around him. Xuanwu sect. Bang! Almost at the same time, a blinding glow exploded as a set of imperious white armor appeared on Wu Jiang's body. Chapter 3875. The Mysterious Willow Tree. The overwhelming amount of venom gushed over, but was completely blocked. Instead, Wu Jiang slashed out with his saber, and the saber landed heavily on the toad's head, forcibly splitting the poisonous toad apart. Gua gua. the huge toad fell down like a small mountain. The venom on its body also lost its luster and gradually dimmed. Chen Ting and the others were delighted when they saw this. Never had they imagined that Wu Jiang actually possessed such a treasure. However, at this moment, a figure flashed past and reached Wu Jiang's side, knocking him aside. Then, a water-splitting thorn stabbed down, aiming for the poisonous toad that was about to die. Crackle. After the water-splitting thorns landed, a series of firecracker-like noises rang out. The poisonous toad immediately exploded. It was deader than dead. And the person who attacked also used the water-splitting thorn to constantly search for something in the rotten flesh. In the end, he cursed, "Damn it, this kind of god's descendant actually has nothing, not even a treasure." After he finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of saliva. And he was Xian Yi. This guy actually took advantage of the fact that the venomous toad was half dead to suddenly steal it, as if he wanted to obtain some kind of treasure. Of course, generally speaking, the descendants of gods would definitely leave behind precious things after death, such as monster cores or something. However, this toad did not have any, causing Xian Yi's efforts to be in vain. "Wu Jiang, you're still not calm enough. A centipede dies but never falls down. A poisonous creature like this can only be killed. If it's half dead, it can counterattack at any time. Sigh, if I didn't make a move, you would have been in deep trouble." Next, Xian Yi reprimanded Wu Jiang as if he was the one who had killed the poisonous creature. In reality, he was just kill-stealing. "Xian Yi, you have gone too far." However, Chen Ting and the others were not fools. They immediately reprimanded him. "Humph, you don't know how to appreciate my kindness." Xian Yi snorted coldly, but he didn't waste any more time. He said, "Let's go." Chen Ting and the others became even more furious when they saw him act like a senior. However, Wu Jiang waved his hand to indicate that he didn't care. Seeing this, Xian Yi narrowed his eyes and stared at the bracelet on Wu Jiang's wrist. He knew that the bracelet was extremely powerful. If it belonged to him, he. Then, he put away his smile and strode forward, as if he was the leader, leading the way. This guy. Chen Wu and the others were still furious. Just as they were about to move forward, Lin Ling suddenly stretched out his hand and stopped them. "Lin Ling, what is the meaning of this?" Chen Ting asked curiously as she turned to look at Lin Ling. Seeing this, Lin Ling explained with a smile, "I just feel that there's still some danger ahead, so I want to be careful." It's fine. That archaic toad is already dead. What other dangers can there be? You have to know that the poisonous creature from before was already considered a demon king. With how powerful it is, there are definitely no other archaic demonic beasts in the nearby territories. Hearing this, Chen Wu comforted him. He saw that Lin Ling's cultivation level was the lowest, so he thought that Lin Ling was just afraid. As for Xian Yi, who was walking in front, he laughed disdainfully and said, "What a coward. I think that the few of you should leave the ancient dragon wasteland. This is a place for experts, so it's not suitable for children like you. Also, let me tell you, martial artists should move forward bravely. If you take a step back, then what's the point of practicing martial arts? You're just a coward. Look at me, I've never taken a step back in my life." Xian Yi's words were filled with sarcasm. Chen Ting and the others immediately turned pale. When the poisonous toad appeared, Xian Yi did not take any action. He was just hiding. Now, he was speaking so righteously. How shameless. Is that so? Then I hope that you'll never be a coward. Xian Yi said. However, at this moment, Lin Ling smiled and said calmly. He had been paying attention to the front, and now, he realized that something strange had finally happened. Rumble. As soon as Lin Ling finished speaking, the ground exploded. Then, countless tentacles spread out, and their speed reached the speed of 1,000 worlds. The poison left behind by the poisonous toad on the ground was sucked clean by the tentacles. Moreover, a large number of tentacles stretched out from the ground and grabbed the poisonous toad's corpse before devouring it in a frenzy. Just as they finished devouring, on the other side, the ground suddenly exploded again, as if it had awakened a monster. Then, the salt pan rumbled, and a pure white toad rushed out. It was the same poisonous creature from before, and it was even bigger than the previous one. This gave everyone a shock. There were two of those terrifying creatures from before. However, before they could react, the toad let out a strange cry. Its cry was filled with panic and fear. Then, it ran away at the speed of 1,000 worlds. Obviously, it had encountered a terrifying creature, and the terrifying creature had already attacked it. Just as the poisonous creature ran halfway, endless vines suddenly appeared and wrapped around the toad. Then, the toad was sucked clean. This caused a wave of terror to spread silently. Although everyone knew that the salt pan was not easy to walk through, they did not expect to encounter so many terrifying creatures in just half a day. Oh my God! As for Xian Yi, he let out a squeal like a pig being slaughtered. He rolled and crawled as he ran back in a sorry state. He was not as arrogant as he had said before. Is this an expert from the E-Garden? Chen Wu did not care about the danger ahead and laughed mockingly. He also said that his martial path was only to move forward bravely. But now, he has turned around and is running away. Chen Ting could not help but laugh. Even the quiet Wu Jiang showed a look of disdain. Perhaps, he is the coward. As for Xian Yi, who was rushing over, his face was filled with fear. In a fluster, he lost his balance and fell to the ground. Then, he glided over like a dead dog, causing the crowd to burst into laughter. However, with his pathetic speed, it was hard to tell where he would end up. Therefore, Wu Jiang also took action. He stretched out his foot and blocked Xian Yi's ferocious momentum. However, this foot blocked Xian Yi's cheek. From the side, it looked as if Wu Jiang had kicked Xian Yi's face. Bang! Xian Yi's voice was carefree, and he managed to stop Xian Yi's momentum. Haha! Seeing Xian Yi's funny look, Chen Ting and the others could not help but laugh. As for Xian Yi, he quickly got up. When he saw everyone laughing, he was obviously angry, but he could not vent his anger. Remove the footprint on your face. You look a little pitiful. At this time, Tian Ao suddenly reminded Xian Yi. His words stunned Xian Yi. Then, his forehead was full of green veins. Footprint on my face? Chapter 3876. Wild Willow. Just as Xian Yi was about to explode, Lin Ling spoke. Coward, if you don't want to die, then scream. I have a feeling that the monster in front of us will kill you first. Xian Yi's face turned pale instantly and he dared not speak again. With his strength, he could naturally sense that the terrifying existence in front of them was extremely powerful. The others gradually calmed down and looked ahead. For a moment, they did not dare to act rashly. Lin Ling, that is Wild Willow, a deity's remnant of the same level as Realm Scorpion. Beside him, the silent giant ghost suddenly spoke. Wild Willow? Lin Ling was shocked and asked quietly, what level of strength is it? Middle stage martial god realm, more powerful than the platinum evil spirit. The giant ghost spoke again. His words made Lin Ling's face turn solemn as he looked ahead. In front of them was a hazy poisonous fog. A huge figure was like a ghost, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Countless vines were scattered on the ground like thick strands of hair. Moreover, as the poisonous fog dispersed, an ancient tree finally appeared. Upon closer inspection, this tree was about 5 people encircling it. The tree was covered in rough bark, and under the tree, many weeping willows hung down, looking like black whips. What is that? Chen Ting and the rest stared at the ancient tree and licked their lips. Wild Willow. In fact, it is the real monster king nearby. All the toads are just its prey. Lin Ling continued to stare ahead and said slowly, moreover, this tree has yet to grow. It is only comparable to a middle-stage martial god. It has yet to grow and it is already a middle-stage martial god? Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Moreover, the scariest thing in the ancient dragon wilderness is not the remnant monsters, but the plants. Lin Ling said again. He had learned this from the giant ghost. What do we do now? How about we run away? Tian Ao immediately asked. However, Chen Ting shook her head and said, we can't run away. I can sense that there are willows under the ground within 1,000 miles. That's right, we are surrounded. Lin Ling naturally sensed the change as well. The countenances of everyone turned ghastly pale when they heard this. But in next to no time, a spiked club that emanated dazzling golden light appeared in Shen Wu's hand, and he said solemnly, since we can't flee, then let's fight. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and rushed over. In mid-air, golden light soared into the sky, as if it had expelled all the haze. 90% of the ancestral power. Moreover, behind him, a golden war chariot appeared, majestic and awe-inspiring. War drums sounded, shaking heaven and earth. This was clearly his innate talent. Brother, let me help you. When Chen Ting saw this, she clapped her hand, and then an ancient white bow appeared. The cry of a phoenix resounded, and it was like a phoenix was dancing in the 9 heavens. She drew her bow and fired, also erupting with 90% of her ancestral power, the arrow shooting towards the desolate willow with 1,500 world speed. This was the phoenix bow. She clearly possessed the bloodline of the divine phoenix, and it was extremely pure. When the others saw this, they also unleashed their unique skills. However, the desolate willow in front of them remained motionless, and when the blossoming attacks arrived, the willow branches finally moved. The terrifying thing was that the willow branches moved extremely quickly, and they actually formed a barrier. Moreover, although the willow branches didn't seem thick, they were even harder than divine artifacts. Clang! Clang! Everyone's attacks were blocked. Only Chen Ting's arrow passed through the willow branches and landed on the desolate willow. In the end, half of the arrow shot into the willow, and then it dimmed down. At this moment, everyone's faces were ashen. If they used their full strength, they would probably be able to defeat an early-stage martial god, but it was completely ineffective against the desolate willow. Moreover, this was when the desolate willow didn't attack. If it attacked, would they still have a chance to survive? It's over, it's over. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have come here. Who led the way? Salt pans, it's really a dead end. Damn it, I shouldn't have joined these small alliances, I should have followed the Great Alliance. When he saw that his attacks were ineffective, Xianyi couldn't help but shout in panic. He paced back and forth, and his eyes were wet. He was an expert of the E generation, and his future was bright. He didn't want to die here. However, no one laughed at him, because Chen Ting and the others had collapsed to the ground, and their faces were full of dispiritedness. Even Lin Ling's face was solemn. Because of the giant ghost's explanation, he finally understood how terrifying the desolate willow was. It was said that if this willow appeared in the 10,000 realms, any realm would be cut apart by it. It was terrifying. However, Lin Ling secretly used his chaos eye and chaos ears, and gradually heard some strange sounds. He even saw a golden light flickering on the body of the desolate willow, but Lin Ling couldn't see what it was. Immediately, he asked the giant ghost, and then his eyes became brighter and brighter. What should we do? What should we do? At this moment, Chen Ting and the others were still shaking their heads, and their hearts were filled with regret. Tian Ao gritted his teeth and said to Chen Ting, maybe we'll all die later, but Miss Chen Ting, when I first saw you, I was already attracted to you. I know this is rude, but I also know that if I don't say it now, I won't have the chance to say it. He wasn't joking, because even Lin Ling noticed that Tian Ao looked at Chen Ting differently. He had this feeling from the first time he saw her. Chen Ting blushed a little. However, at this moment, Lin Ling also spoke, you don't have to die yet. His words made everyone look up, and Xian Yi said in disbelief, You're not lying to us, right? Coward, get lost, you're not qualified to be lied to by me. Lin Ling didn't treat Xian Yi well, and he said calmly, the desolate willow seems to be refining something, so it didn't attack us. This is the best time for us to escape. Previously, it appeared because the poisonous toads disturbed it. Really? Everyone's mouths were wide open. It seems like you don't have much of a choice, so it doesn't matter. Lin Ling said with a smile. Then let's escape. Chen Ting and the others stood up, and their spirits were lifted. This was because none of them wanted to die here. Then, they immediately decided to escape into the distance, and even leave the salt pan. They didn't even want to stay in the shop of God. Although the shop of God was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, one must know one's limits. Just as they turned around, Chen Ting realized that Lin Ling hadn't left, but was looking ahead coldly, which shocked her. All along, she hadn't taken Lin Ling seriously. After all, Lin Ling was only at the middle stage martial ancestor realm. However, she now realized that when the desolate willow appeared, the most calm person was the young man with the lowest cultivation level. Chapter 3877. A Ray of Golden Light. I reckon that desolate willow is a rank 4 martial god. Speaking of which, I have never killed a martial god before. Lin Ling said calmly as he drew his sword from his back. Boom! Everyone was shocked. Tian Ao said in disbelief, Lin Ling, you can't be. Yes. That's right. It's rare to see it refining something. If I don't kill it, I'll miss the chance. Yes. Lin Ling turned to look at Tian Ao and nodded. He was curious as to what the ray of golden light that desolate willow was refining was. He had a feeling that the ray of golden light was related to God's store. However, after receiving Lin Ling's affirmation, Tian Ao and the rest almost fainted. They had finally seen desolate willow refining something and could not escape in time. However, Lin Ling wanted to kill desolate willow? Tian Ao, isn't he your junior? You should persuade him. Chen Wu was so shocked that he started to stutter. Hearing this, Tian Ao smiled wryly, I would like to persuade him too. Unfortunately, he is the leader of our alliance. Chen Ting and the rest's eyes twitched when they heard this. A middle-stage martial ancestor challenging desolate willow, a middle-stage martial god, was he tired of living? Or did he think that life was too boring and wanted to find some excitement? Idiot. The corners of Xian Yi's mouth curled up in a mocking smile. Ignoring these idiots, he immediately fled into the distance. Lin Ling, the gap between you and desolate willow is too big. Unless desolate willow is sleeping, it's impossible for you. Chen Ting did not want Lin Ling to die, so she tried to persuade him again. However, the moment she finished speaking, everyone was stunned. It seemed like the desolate willow was sleeping right now. At this moment, Lin Ling gently smiled and slowly said, Don't worry. Are you willing to give up on God's store? You should know that if you turn back, you won't be able to reach God's store. Think about it. When you were still at grade 6 and grade 7 with the ultimate desolate body, your junior had already reached grade 8. When you meet him again, how would you feel? Moreover, the path of martial arts has never been smooth sailing. Lin Ling's voice was like a needle. It didn't seem loud, but it pierced deeply into everyone's hearts. To be able to become the masters of the third hall, they must have encountered a life and death battle in their lifetime. However, when the martial god Desolate Willow appeared, they felt that it was impossible to fight, so they had the thought of running away. Lin Ling, I'll help you. As if he had thought it through, the glaive appeared in Wu Zhang's hand once more. As for Chen Wu and Chen Ting, they looked at each other before a wolf-tooth club and phoenix bow appeared in their hands. Then, they looked at Lin Ling and nodded heavily. Lin Ling will help you too. Heavenly Pride and the others did not plan to escape. To be honest, they were reluctant to give up on God's shop. Moreover, if they escaped this time, it would leave an insurmountable shadow in their hearts. If they were to encounter any danger in the future, their first thought would be to escape. If this cycle continued, it would be difficult for them to reach a higher realm in their lives. Sensing heavenly pride and the others' fighting spirit, Lin Ling could not help but smile and nod his head in praise. To be able to quietly awaken from fear and become fearless was not something that just anyone could do. After all, fear was one of the greatest enemies of humans. Those who could overcome fear were dragons among men. As for Xian Yi, who had escaped, he was incomparable. He was as dirty as a toilet stone. Now, the desolate willow is refining that thing. Hence, we have very little time left. We have to kill it before it is completely refined. Following that, Lin Ling stared ahead and said, "All right." Chen Ting and the others looked at each other and immediately nodded their heads. In my opinion, the desolate willow's fatal point should be the tree trunk. However, there are many willow branches around it and they are very strong. Ordinary people would not be able to get close to it. Hence, if we want to kill the desolate willow, the best way is to attack the tree trunk. The willow branches will ignore us. That's good. After all, there are too many willow branches. If we were to clear them one by one, not only would it be troublesome, it would also be dangerous. However, Lin Ling, when I shot the tree trunk earlier, the effect was not great. I estimate that in order to destroy the tree trunk, we would need to use 100% of our ancestors' power. That's a little difficult. Of course, although we do not have 100% of our ancestors' power, if we join forces, we should be able to achieve the same result. Everyone split up and rushed towards the desolate willow from all directions like dragonflies. At the same time, they shouted to each other. At this moment, the huge desolate willow in front of them was still motionless. It seemed that it was indeed in the process of refining. Only when the enemy reached a certain distance would it attack. Everyone had prepared all their unique skills. The moment they got close to the desolate willow, the willow branches waved and formed an ancient divine realm. Attack! Everyone was excited and filled with anticipation. They were excited because the desolate willow was indeed refining the treasure. If they did not approach it, the desolate willow would not attack. However, they were filled with anticipation because they had a chance to kill the desolate willow. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A spatial barrier appeared. It was formed by countless desolate willow branches, which intertwined with one another and sliced through everything. Everyone's attacks were immediately blocked. Chen Wu was in the most miserable state, as the desolate willow branches almost wrapped around his mace. Meanwhile, Tianao and the others attacked with all their might. However, after knocking away the desolate willow branches in front of them, more desolate willow branches appeared from all directions. Their speed had reached 1,500 boundary speed. Seal. The desolate willow branches had completely sealed off their surroundings, preventing them from approaching it. Furthermore, the desolate willow branches were not attacking them. If they had attacked, they would have been dead by now. What are these desolate willow branches? Why are they so tough? Zhong Jin yelled in disbelief. Beside him, Lin Ling waved his sword casually while his eyes flickered continuously. Although he was only attacking casually, Chen Ting and the others were used to it. In their opinion, the strength of a mid-stage martial progenitor realm cultivator was more than enough. Allow me. At that instant, the cry of a phoenix could be heard as Chen Ting floated in the air. Her robe danced in the wind, giving her a sacred appearance instead of a cute appearance. A pair of phoenix wings spread out from her back. The arrow penetrated through the vines and landed on the desolate willow's trunk. This time, the effect was quite obvious, as the desolate willow began to sway slightly. That being said, that was all. The reason being that the arrow did not have any effect after that. Chen Ting was startled, before a dispirited look appeared on her face. Sister, that old desolate willow is a martial god realm demonic tree. Of course the arrow would not have any effect on it. That being said, Chen Wu comforted her too. Meanwhile, he glanced at the crowd with a worried look. I feel like something is wrong with the desolate willow. It feels like it's watching us. Could it be that it has woken up? Luo Wuchang suddenly said in a nervous tone. Chapter 3878. Lin Ling made his move. I think it's not too late to leave now. As the weakest among them, Zhuang Yanming was obviously thinking of retreating. There's still one more chance. I'll stop the willow branch. You guys attack with all your might. However, right at this moment, Wu Jiang suddenly roared loudly, and it shocked everyone. Among the crowd, Wu Jiang's strength could only be considered average. Who would have thought that he actually had the strength to block the willow branch? Wu Jiang, be careful. However, at this point, everyone immediately placed their hopes on Wu Jiang. Wu Jiang activated his armor once again. White light soared into the sky, and the huge words, Black Tortoise Sect, appeared. Then, this guy was like a huge divine turtle, and he actually pressed forward. Around his body, the phantom of a giant turtle appeared. Its four limbs slowly moved forward, approaching the wild willow step by step. Boom! Boom! With every step he took, the salt pan shook, as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. Even Lin Ling took a second look at it and smiled. The power of 10,000 worlds. He sensed that Wu Jiang's set of armor increased his physical strength greatly, the power of 10,000 worlds. Of course, this was only secondary, the truly terrifying part was still that defensive power. With the armor, Wu Jiang, who was only a peak martial progenitor, was able to block the attack of a martial god. Clang! Clang! The willow branches wrapped around the divine turtle's body, but they were unable to stop it from moving forward. Furthermore, the hard shell of the divine turtle also blocked the willow branches from cutting it. This turtle is too powerful. Tian Ao and the rest were tongue-tied. You guys, stop admiring me. I won't be able to hold on for long. Wu Jiang noticed that Tian Ao and the rest were actually admiring him, and he was instantly furious. Were those fellows deliberately trying to exhaust him to death? Everyone came to their senses and immediately unleashed all of their power. Rumble. The void split open in an instant, as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas. Everyone's attacks passed through the black tortoise and headed straight for the willow tree. And with Wu Jiang's godly armor, all the willow branches were attracted, causing all the attacks to explode on the ancient tree. Rumble. Their combined attacks could probably kill a martial god. When it landed on the huge willow tree, the effect was extremely obvious. The hard bark was blown apart, and then a large amount of blood began to flow out. The entire tree also shook violently. This time's attack clearly brought damage to the wild willow. As for Lin Ling, who had been silent all this time, his eyes finally lit up. This was because he saw that Chen Ting's phoenix arrow didn't bring about any fatal injuries. Instead, Chen Wu's spiked club was thrown over, and it actually made the desolate willow tremble violently a few times. Most importantly, the place where the mace struck was where the golden light was emitting from time to time. Is he dead? After a short moment, someone finally spoke. It was Chen Wu. However, everyone was not too sure. On the contrary, Wu Jiang shouted, "Hurry up and run, that demon tree has woken up." What? Everyone's expression changed drastically. Their attacks were ineffective? Following that, they looked over and immediately saw the wild willow baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Clearly, it had completely awakened and was in a state of rage. Run now. We've already done our best, but some things are already predestined. Chen Ting and Chen Wu uttered a roar as they began to feel the urge to retreat. However, at that instant, Lin Ling finally made his move. With a kick, he dashed forward with his blue robe fluttering in the wind and a huge sword in his hand. This caused Chen Ting and the others to be dumbfounded. Chen Wu said in disbelief, "Isn't that guy just doing nothing?" Why is he attacking when we're planning to run away? He had witnessed Lin Ling's previous attack. To be honest, the attack was extremely weak. It was as if he was just trying to deal with the situation. That being said, he was aware that Lin Ling's cultivation was not too high, thus it was normal for him to be able to unleash such a powerful attack. However, Lin Ling was no longer trying to deal with the situation, but risking his life instead? A mid-martial progenitor risking his life? Chen Wu almost covered his eyes with his hands, as he could not bear to watch this any longer. Indeed, although Lin Ling was just trying to deal with the situation, he was also observing the wild willow, trying to find a way to deal the fatal blow. Furthermore, although the wild willow had woken up, it had only just woken up. This meant that Lin Ling still had a chance, albeit a short one. Look, heavens, his speed is so fast. Suddenly, Wu Jiang exclaimed. In his eyes, Lin Ling's speed had surpassed 1,000 boundaries. Furthermore, he managed to avoid the willow branches. Chen Ting also said while covering her mouth. The willow branches intertwined with one another like an ancient heaven-earth formation. No one below the half-martial god realm could get close to it. Those who entered the formation would die. However, in the eyes of the crowd, Lin Ling's figure was like a deity. Not only did he avoid the willow branches, he was also getting closer to the willow. Could it be that he's a boundary master? Chen Wu said nervously. Even if he's a boundary master, it's impossible for him to know the heaven-earth formation of the wild willow, unless. Wu Jiang said in a serious tone. He could not utter the word unless for a long time. Say it. Chen Wu could not hold it in any longer and almost kicked Wu Jiang. Wu Jiang did not try to hide the truth. His expression became even more serious as he said, unless. He's the one who saw through the heaven-earth formation. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Through their previous confrontation, he saw through the willow branches' trajectories. Could that guy be a monster? While they were exclaiming, Lin Ling had already appeared in front of the wild willow. He placed one hand behind his back and looked at the willow calmly. The wild willow had just awakened, but it was also looking at Lin Ling at that moment. The man and the tree seemed to have frozen time in the world. Oh no, his cultivation level is too low. Even if he has reached the heaven-earth formation, he can't inflict any fatal injuries. The silent scene made Chen Ting suddenly think of something and she shouted anxiously. That's not necessarily true. Chen Ting, Lin Ling is our leader. He's definitely the most powerful person in our small alliance. However, Tian Ao also spoke. His words made Chen Ting and the others frown instantly. They doubted Tian Ao's words. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling drew his sword. The huge sword looked thick, but it was as light as lightning. A ray of sword radiance appeared and shot toward the wild willow. The sword radiance was as if the era of the gods had arrived. At that instant, the ground trembled as a murderous aura and demonic aura soared into the sky. In the distance, Chen Ting and the others covered their mouths. In their eyes, the young man was like a sword demon. The progenitor's force of the sword was increasing rapidly. 80%. 90%. 100%. 100% progenitor's force. Tian Ao, your junior brother is too monstrous. It's my first time seeing a middle-stage martial progenitor with 100% progenitor's force. Chen Wu could no longer hold it in and exclaimed. In fact, Tian Ao and the others were also shocked by Lin Ling's strength. They remembered that during the martial arts exchange at the E Villa, Lin Ling did not have 100% progenitor's force. However, 100% progenitor's force was easier said than done. Chapter 3879. Unbridled. Unless it was those old monsters who had reached a bottleneck in their cultivation and had reached the limit of their talent. Chi. At this moment, Lin Ling's sword landed on the willow tree trunk. Upon closer inspection, that was the spot where the golden light had previously bloomed. After the sword stabbed into the willow tree, the entire willow tree shook violently. Countless willow branches slashed indiscriminately, tearing space apart. On the other hand, Lin Ling frowned and immediately floated back. Moreover, he also realized that the tyrannical song sword was only halfway in, and it would be difficult for it to go any further. As expected of a martial god realm demonic tree. If he hadn't just woken up, Lin Ling wouldn't have been able to stab that sword. Buzz buzz buzz. Blood gushed out from the willow tree's body, but gradually, a pair of eyes appeared. As soon as this eye appeared, the faces of Chen Ting and the others in the distance instantly turned pale. What a terrifying eye. Heavens! Even a sword strike with 100% of ancestral force couldn't kill him? He's too invincible. Look, the sword is only halfway in. Lin Ling, retreat quickly. Lin Ling is in danger. Next, Tian Ao and the rest shouted in shock. However, Lin Ling did not leave. Instead, he walked towards the willow again. Countless willow branches danced as the blue-robed figure walked forward, ignoring the cutting willow branches around him. I'm very curious. What is that golden light? Why did your willpower become even stronger after swallowing it? A calm voice drifted out from Lin Ling's mouth. When they heard this, the eyes of Chen Ting and the others became hazy. At this moment, they felt as if Lin Ling was from a completely different world than them. Everything about Lin Ling was very mysterious, making them want to tear open that layer of screen and see everything to the end. However, at this moment, countless willow branches shot towards Lin Ling like swords. The desolate willow finally made its move. The power of these willow branches was probably enough to kill a martial god. But at this moment, Lin Ling also drew his sword. Behind him, 18 true inheritance nether swords floated out. Then, they passed through countless willow branches and shot forward. They were neat and tidy, pleasing to the eye. From afar, it looked like an immortal sword piercing through the world. The most terrifying thing was that these swords didn't shoot in all directions. They only had a single target, and that was the tyrannical song sword. Clang! After the first sword landed on the hilt of the tyrannical song sword, it caused the tyrannical song sword to penetrate even deeper. The wild willow let out a terrifying cry for the first time. But the second, the third, the fourth. Finally, the tyrant song sword was pushed into the wild willow's body. The wild willow's body began to swell, and in the next moment, it exploded. Those willow branches that were shooting towards Lin Ling all fell to the ground. The sky was filled with willow branches, and one had to admit that it was extremely beautiful. Chen Ting and the others looked at the scene in front of them, and the expressions on their faces did not calm down for a long time. This is a miracle. This was especially true for Chen Ting. She recalled the time when she had pulled Lin Ling into the alliance. At that time, Lin Ling had smiled and said to her, God Slayer Alliance's Lin Ling. At that time, she didn't take this name to heart. But now, she knew how terrifying this God Slayer Alliance's Lin Ling was. His strength was definitely ranked in the top 300 on the divine list. Don't be in a daze. These willow branches are extremely rare treasures. If they are used to forge weapons, they will definitely be at the level of acquired divine artifacts. Come and collect them. While everyone was still in shock, Lin Ling's voice drifted over. Then, Chen Ting and the others rushed over and saw Lin Ling standing there quietly. His blue robe fluttered lightly, and a strange golden object appeared in his hand. Upon closer inspection, that object looked like a ginseng. Moreover, it had 4 limbs and looked like a child. There were also many golden roots on its head. This is? Chen Ting was instantly curious. I don't know what it is either. It was left behind from the wild willow. It seemed to have been refining this thing before. Moreover, I checked it and found that this thing doesn't have any spiritual energy. Moreover, it looks more like a fleece flower. Lin Ling waved the object in his hand and smiled. Golden fleece flower? Everyone gathered around with curious looks on their faces. Hee, I didn't expect you guys from a small academy to be so capable. This wild willow was actually killed by you guys. Just as everyone was staring at the treasure in Lin Ling's hand, a disdainful voice suddenly drifted over from afar. This made Chen Ting and the others turn around. They saw Xian Yi, who had fled like a rabbit, walking back. He had his hands behind his back and a smug look on his face. Xian Yi, you still have the nerve to come back? Do you have any shame? We, the Impact Alliance, announce that you are eliminated. Seeing Xian Yi, Chen Wu was furious. This guy was good at stealing kills, but he was completely useless in other aspects. Hee, with your trash alliance, do you really think that you can invite me? I just lost contact with the Impact Alliance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come even if you invited me. However, my luck is not bad. I finally found the Impact Alliance just now. Xian Yi slowly walked over. His pair of mung bean eyes seemed to be wary of Chen Ting. Especially when his gaze landed on the towering peaks, he couldn't help but lick his lips. This made Chen Ting so angry that she clenched her teeth. However, just as she was about to speak, Xian Yi once again said indifferently, although I'm leaving the alliance, I'm still considered a member of your alliance. According to the rules, I also have a share of the treasures you obtained. Bullshit, do you still have any shame? Hearing this, everyone was burning with anger. I forgot to say, when I said that I have a share, it means that all the treasures in your hands belong to me. Even that stupid kid from the Wind Snow Academy, your golden fleece flower is also mine. However, Xian Yi wasn't angry. Instead, he said leisurely. You're dreaming. Not to mention treasures, we won't even give a single strand of hair to a rat like you. Chen Wu was so angry that he started laughing, and he'd never seen such a shameless person. Ha ha ha. Xian Yi suddenly laughed out loud. With his hands behind his back, as if he was the master of everything, he said, not only do I want the golden fleece flower, I also want your sister. I've been interested in her for a long time, especially those two lumps. TSK, I'll definitely have fun with them. His gaze was even more unscrupulous as he stared at Chen Ting. The Chen siblings were so angry that they immediately gripped the weapons in their hands tightly. However, Lin Ling frowned slightly. Based on his understanding of this scum, this person was very timid. So, where did he get his courage from? Suddenly, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. This was because his chaotic ears heard a familiar sound. This was the sound that he heard when he came to the ancient dragon wasteland. That's right, it was that poison lake. He remembered that when they passed by the poison lake, a cloud of pollen had spread out and paralyzed everyone's bodies. If it wasn't for Lin Ling's quick reaction, everyone would have been in trouble. And the source of the pollen was a poisonous flower at the bottom of the ancient lake. Now, the sound was exactly the same as the poisonous flower. Chapter 3880. Poison. The evil ghost jellyfish has swallowed all the pollen that entered my body. Damn! Lin Ling shouted in his heart. Fortunately, he had discovered it in time. Otherwise, if he had been paralyzed as well, the consequences would have been unimaginable. The pollen was obviously brought by Xian Yi. He did not know how Xian Yi was able to use the pollen to paralyze everyone. However, it was clear that Xian Yi had come prepared. At this moment, Xian Yi chuckled. Instead of leaving, he strode towards Chen Ting. Chen Ting and the others were filled with murderous intent. They had not attacked Xian Yi previously because they had given him a chance. After all, they were once in the same alliance. However, who would have thought that Xian Yi had gone too far? You should stop before you go too far. Tian Ao immediately stepped forward. Behind him, Wu Jiang did the same. Just as they were about to activate their boundary essence, they suddenly felt that they had lost control of their bodies. What's going on? Both of them were surprised at the same time. Chen Ting and the others' faces changed. When they activated their boundary essence, they immediately felt that something was wrong with their bodies. They also felt that the more they activated their boundary essence, the stronger the feeling of losing control of their bodies. You used poison? Chen Wu suddenly thought of something and looked at Xian Yi furiously. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, that's right. I used poison. What can you do about it? Xian Yi enjoyed everyone's surprised expressions. He stared at Wu Jiang and said, I like your armor very much. It will belong to me later. After he finished speaking, he punched Xian Yi's stomach. Xian Yi spat out a mouthful of blood and fell down like a shrimp. As for you? Trash from Snow Wind Academy. After that punch, Xian Yi punched Tian Ao and the others. They fell down one by one, unable to move. They could only stare at Xian Yi with hatred. This guy was despicable and shameless. Their faces were filled with anger. They did not expect that they would be killed by Xian Yi instead of dying in the wild willow's mouth. However, Xian Yi didn't kill them immediately because he was already looking at Chen Ting. Of course, when he walked over, he knocked Chen Wu down and said, You guys are lucky because you won't die for the time being. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want you guys to watch me toy with Chen Ting. Xian Yi, you pervert. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. Chen Ting, run. Chen Wu and the others who were lying on the ground immediately roared. Ha ha ha, scream, scream. You'll be able to feast your eyes later. However, the more they cursed, the happier Xian Yi was. Moreover, he began to walk towards Chen Ting. Chen Ting was so angry that her face had turned red and she was trembling. Especially the 2 lumps on her chest, they were bouncing violently. A despicable person like you should kneel down obediently and destroy your own words. Then, you might still have a chance to live. But at this moment, a cold voice broke the silence and quietly floated out. This also caused Xian Yi to stop in his tracks. His face suddenly darkened. He slowly turned his head and looked at the person who spoke. Wind Snow Academy's Lin Ling, you were able to teach my junior a lesson in the E-Garden. But now, you're just like a dog. Let me tell you, if it weren't for Chen Ting and the others, I would have taught you a lesson already. Although Lin Ling had killed the wild willow, in his opinion, that did not represent any strength. It could only be said that Lin Ling's courage was commendable and he was not afraid of death. Taking a step back, even if Lin Ling's strength was not bad, now that he was poisoned, he was just like a dog. Xian Yi temporarily gave up on Chen Ting and began to walk towards Lin Ling. When he arrived in front of Lin Ling, he seemed to be looking down at Lin Ling. The light in his eyes was obviously different. On the ground, Tian Ao and the others shouted because they also noticed that Xian Yi's attitude towards Lin Ling was different. He seemed to want to kill Lin Ling first. But the truth was that Xian Yi wanted to kill Lin Ling first because Lin Ling's attitude was too calm. From the beginning to the end, there was not the slightest bit of panic. And when he looked at Xian Yi's eyes, Xian Yi felt that there was a trace of pity in them. It seems that you've finally chosen to die. Lin Ling finally spoke. Although his words were calm, there was a strong murderous intent mixed in. Die? Xian Yi laughed contemptuously, as if he had heard the best joke in his life. This brat was too ignorant of the situation. Didn't he see that Tian Ao and the others were rolling on the ground like dogs? After laughing, Xian Yi's eyes became ferocious, revealing a trace of hatred. Wind Snow Academy's Lin Ling, do you know what you're doing? Do you know where you are right now? This is the ancient dragon wasteland. There are countless people stronger than you. In our E-Garden, there are countless experts of the E generation. My seniors, Yu Quan and the others are in this area, and you've already been crippled by me. You still want to kill me? Are you crazy? Immediately show me a panicked expression, immediately beg for mercy. It seemed that Lin Ling was too calm, causing Xian Yi to go a little crazy. A water-splitting thorn appeared in his hand, and he immediately slashed towards Lin Ling's legs. He wanted to see Lin Ling begging for mercy, and he wanted to see Lin Ling cry even more. This slash caused Chen Ting and the others' eyes to widen. Chen Ting almost shouted that she could fulfill Xian Yi's wish, but Xian Yi had to let Lin Ling go. But, would Lin Ling's legs be cut off by a mere Xian Yi? What a joke. Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. He stretched out his left hand and slapped the water-splitting thorn away, then punched out with his right fist. Bang! This punch broke Xian Yi's right leg. Bang! Another punch broke Xian Yi's left leg. Chen Ting and the others stared at Lin Ling in disbelief, unable to believe the scene in front of them. Looking at Xian Yi again, he was lying on the ground, his hands clutching his legs as he screamed in pain. His face was also filled with disbelief and fear. How is this possible? You've clearly been poisoned by the heavenly flax flower. Could it be that you have the dupu leaves on you? Xian Yi roared in shock. The poison you're talking about should be this, right? Lin Ling looked at him with a faint smile. Suddenly, a large number of jellyfish rushed out from behind him, and a few of them even spat out a large amount of pollen. This was the pollen of the poisonous flower. After spitting it out, all the jellyfish looked at Xian Yi with bared fangs and brandished claws. In Xian Yi's eyes, the Lin Ling in front of him was not a human, but a demon that had escaped from the underworld. You can't kill me. Xian Yi's hands pressed against the ground as he staggered backwards. I'm from the Yi Garden, and my senior is Yu Quan. If you dare to kill me, everyone in Snow Wind Academy Shinsan Hall will die. Let me tell you, Yu Quan is an expert, more powerful than any of you. He even knows the Gold God Tribe's priest and the Water God Tribe's princess. You bunch of lowly commoners are no match for him. Chapter 3881. Soulless Swamp. Right? Lin Ling frowned. This name seemed somewhat familiar. Suddenly, he remembered. It was in the ancient lake mine. At that time, Jin Yi and Princess Shui Wan were accompanied by several experts from the Yi Garden. One of them seemed to be called Yu Quan. That guy was actually a senior from Xian Class 1. Are you scared? Come and help me up. Seeing Lin Ling remain silent, Mystic One thought that Lin Ling was afraid. Thus, he roared hysterically. However, Lin Ling's sword cut off Xian Yi's arms. Right? In front of me, he is nothing but trash. If you have the chance, you can ask him if he dares to speak to me, Lin Ling. As for Princess Shui Wan and Priest Jin Shen, I'm sorry, but I killed them. Lin Ling laughed coldly. His words caused Mystic One to open her mouth wide in shock. Just as she was about to say something, Lin Ling's sword had already been raised high in the air. A cold light shone from the sword. You dare? Don't kill me, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. With a swing of the sword, Mystic One was also smashed into a meat patty. Lin Ling found a few pieces of strange tree bark on her body. They seemed to be dupu leaves. However, although they looked like leaves, they were actually more like tree bark. After tearing them apart, Lin Ling could see that they were connected by spider silk. After that, he distributed the tree barks to Chen Ting and the others, and once they obtained the tree barks, the numbness they felt gradually vanished. After they stood up, they looked at Lin Ling gratefully. Because if it wasn't for Lin Ling, they would have definitely died here. It was even to the extent that Chen Ting could imagine that if it wasn't for Lin Ling, not only would she have died here, she would have been tainted by that bastard. Thank you, thank you. The two siblings said gratefully. Big brother Lin Ling, thank you. Of course, no one was more grateful than Tianao. He rushed over and hugged Lin Ling. He almost kissed Lin Ling. This caused a look of disgust to appear on Lin Ling's face. At the same time, he also realized that this fellow should be thanking him on behalf of Chen Ting. Lin Ling couldn't help but secretly kick Tian Ao and said, she has just gone through a life and death tribulation. Her heart is at its weakest right now, so why don't you seize this opportunity? Ah. Tianao immediately reacted. He looked at Lin Ling gratefully and ran to Chen Ting's side. However, Chen Ting didn't pay any attention to him. Instead, she walked towards Lin Ling and said worriedly, "Lin Ling, you killed Xian Yi. He's from the Yi Garden, and I've heard of the Yu Quan he mentioned. He's stronger than us." Now, Lin Ling knew what Chen Ting was worried about. He interrupted her and shrugged. "Don't worry. It's fine if Yu Quan doesn't come looking for you, but if he does, he'll definitely regret it." Then, he looked at the golden fleece flower in his hand and looked into the distance. Finally, he led the group forward again. After this incident, the group unknowingly regarded Lin Ling as their leader. The Qin siblings even discussed and cancelled the attack alliance. They joined the God Slayer alliance directly. Although they didn't like to be controlled by others, after being with Lin Ling and the rest, they realized that Lin Ling and the rest weren't arrogant and were easy to talk to. In addition, Lin Ling had saved them, so they joined the God Slayer alliance. Lin Ling naturally welcomed them. Currently, the God Slayer alliance didn't have many people and needed experts to oversee it. A half-step martial god was one of the top experts in the entire God Slayer alliance. The salt pan was huge and full of dangers. Other than the poisonous trees, there were also poisonous duckweeds and other poisonous plants. These poisonous plants were no small matter. Fortunately, Lin Ling had encountered them several times, so he was able to avoid these poisonous plants in advance. Moreover, Lin Ling noticed that these poisonous plants were more or less glowing with a golden light. They seemed to be the golden fleece flower. This made Lin Ling even more curious. In the vast salt pan, other than Lin Ling's small alliance, there were other alliances moving forward. Some of them knew the taboo of the salt pan, so they managed to cross it. Some of them were like Lin Ling and the rest, advancing step by step. Of course, there were many deaths in the process. Moving forward like this, all the small alliances were getting closer and closer to the god shop. In fact, to get close to the god shop was a trial of blood and killing. Only those with great courage, perseverance, and fighting spirit could enter the god shop. It's the soulless swamp again. Let's take a break. After we recover, we'll rush through this place. In front of a magnificent swamp, Lin Ling stared ahead. There, bubbles constantly emerged from the swamp and then burst, emitting a mysterious miasma. It was colorful and extremely beautiful. Looking into the distance, the land seemed to be endless. And this was the soulless swamp. To be honest, Lin Ling and the rest had encountered such a swamp several times before. It was just that it was not as big as the one in front of them. However, they all knew that the terrifying thing about this swamp was that it was soulless. This meant that any martial artist who entered this swamp would use up their realm essence. In the end, their combat strength would be reduced by as much as 90%. Lin Ling and the rest had passed through the soulless swamp several times before. Nothing major happened. However, when they passed through, they clearly saw many experts dying in the swamp. There were even people who were half swallowed by the swamp and were asking for help from Lin Ling and the rest. However, Lin Ling refused. Because he discovered that the lower half of the person's body had been swallowed. He was just struggling on the verge of death. If they got close, something unexpected might happen. And that was just a small swamp. The big swamp in front of them was likely to be filled with danger. This god shop is really difficult to walk through. Tianao and the rest sat at the edge of the swamp and could not help but sigh. They did not know if they could continue on like this. Once we pass through this swamp, we will arrive at the god shop. Lin Ling looked at the group and then said with a smile, boosting their fighting spirit. Is this the last part of the journey? Alright, since we have come this far, we will continue even if we die. Wu Jiang immediately stood up, looking a little high-spirited. Then, he looked at Luo Wuchang and said with a smile, everyone, get up. This is the last part of the journey. Once we pass through it, we will succeed. Let's go. We have made it this far. Damn it, I don't believe that this swamp can stop us. Tian Ao and the rest also stood up. Lin Ling suddenly smiled and immediately led the way. After entering the soulless swamp, a mysterious force permeated the air. Everyone noticed that their realm essence was being drained rapidly. This was the effect of the miasma. Speed up, let's leave this place before our realm essence runs out. Following behind Lin Ling, Chen Wu immediately shouted. Everyone could not help but speed up. They stepped lightly on the ground and then leaped across the swamp. Lin Ling took the lead, but he immediately noticed that the miasma in front of him had quietly changed color. It had turned orange. This made him realize that the miasma was even more powerful and could accelerate the depletion of a martial artist's realm essence. Go around here, go that way. Lin Ling made a decision and ran in another direction. Chapter 3882. Canon Deity Alliance. However, after walking in another direction, Lin Ling and the rest saw a group of people attacking a huge vine. The huge vine was rolling around in the swamp like a snake. From time to time, it would release duckweed that was as thick as a finger. What was terrifying was that the duckweed was impervious to water and fire. It was floating in all directions. Looking at the ground of the swamp, there were a few people sitting there. They were obviously injured. From this, it could be seen that this group of people was attacking the huge vine. Under their attacks, the vine seemed to be heavily injured. This also meant that this group of people was not weak. Moreover, there were many of them. There were many half-step martial god realm experts in this group. One of them was the strongest and had an 8th grade talent. His wrists were as huge as an ape's arms. With a punch, he could release a godly cannon-like attack. Under his attacks, the giant vine began to crack apart. This person's combat power was terrifying. It was almost comparable to an ordinary martial god realm expert. 90% of ancestors' power. Moreover, his talent is not weak. Lin Ling was shocked. This was the strongest 8th grade ultimate desolate body he had ever seen. It was even stronger than Wanyan Bupo. He was definitely one of the top 300 on the divine list stairway. Who are you? The other party was obviously from the Alliance. After seeing Lin Ling and the rest, he immediately shouted angrily. Chen Wu and his sister frowned. Their alliance barely had 10 people while the other party had almost 100 people. If there was a conflict, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. Moreover, when they looked around, they did not see anyone familiar from the academy. This meant that the other party would not give them any face. Kill them. That was indeed the case. Suddenly, someone from the alliance yelled out. In a place like the ancient dragon desolate land, when an alliance met another alliance, it would often be a double cross, forcing others to join their alliance. If the other party refused, they would be directly destroyed. Looking at Lin Ling's alliance, there were only a few people and their cultivation did not seem high. Therefore, they did not bother to absorb them and directly killed them. Most importantly, the desolate vine they killed was about to die, and they didn't want to cause more trouble. Everyone, I'm Lin Ling from the God Slayer Alliance. We're just passing by and don't intend to cause any trouble. I hope you can let us through. At this moment, Lin Ling also spoke up. It was because the surrounding miasma was still drifting about, everyone's realm essence still flowing out. If they could avoid a battle, that was naturally better. Looking at the other party, they seemed to have treasures that could block the miasma, so they were in a better state. If the two alliances were to fight, Lin Ling could guarantee that they would be fine, but he could not guarantee that Tian Ao and the others would be fine. God Slayer Alliance? Never heard of it. Destroy it. A thin and weak young man spoke again. Sir, must you fight to the death? Hearing this, Lin Ling's voice turned cold. Although he did not want to fight, if the other party was overbearing, he would not allow himself to be trampled on. Haha. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the group of people from the alliance couldn't help but laugh out loud. Firstly, Lin Ling's alliance was small in number and weak in strength. Secondly, Lin Ling's alliance's realm essence was flowing out, but they had treasures that could block the miasma. The difference between the two sides was obvious. That guy actually said that they would fight to the death? That was a joke. Kill. Then, the group of people did not waste any more time and immediately prepared to attack. It was obvious that they were not newbies like the God Slayer Alliance. They seemed to have stayed in the ancient dragon wasteland for a long time. Newbies, although God's store is good, the great world over there is not something you can get close to. Someone sneered. However, just as they were about to attack, a loud voice suddenly rang out, "Fei Ying, you kill the desolate vine. I'll take a look at them." The leader had already looked at Lin Ling and the others. Then, he said indifferently, "God Slayer Alliance, I'm the leader, God Slayer Li Feishan. Are you guys interested in joining our alliance?" What? Once this was said, everyone was in disbelief. This was because a small alliance like Lin Ling's was nothing in their eyes, unless the other party was a fierce talent. However, when they took a closer look, other than Chen Ting and her sister who looked familiar, the others were unfamiliar. Obviously, they were not in the strongest circle of the God Slayer Alliance and were not worth their attention. "Boss, this..." Someone looked at the leader and asked curiously. However, the leader waved his hand and smiled at Lin Ling. "What do you think?" This not only surprised the God Slayer Alliance, but also Chen Ting and the others. Glancing at everyone, Lin Ling smiled and said, "Join you and work under you?" That's right. In the ancient dragon wasteland, it's normal for alliances to devour each other. If you don't join us, you will be forced to join others. However, the God Slayer Alliance is not a small alliance. You won't lose out if you join us. The man called God Slayer continued to smile. Hearing this, Lin Ling cupped his hands and bowed. Then, he said calmly, "I'm sorry, I have no intention of joining other alliances." This guy. Lin Ling's words shocked the people of the God Slayer Alliance. This was because they had no intention of letting Lin Ling and the others join them. Now that their leader had given them a chance, this trashy alliance had rejected it. What a small alliance that had overestimated itself. Rejecting is tantamount to provoking us. The outcome may be the destruction of the entire alliance. However, God Slayer was not angry and spoke slowly. "Our alliance may be small, but if they want to destroy us, we'll have to see if they have any teeth." Lin Ling immediately retorted. "How dare you? Damn it, we gave you a chance. It's fine if you reject it, but you're still so arrogant. Boss, destroy them." Lin Ling's attitude infuriated the people of the God Slayer Alliance. However, Lin Ling did not care about these small fries. Instead, he looked at God Slayer calmly. God Slayer also looked at Lin Ling calmly. Their gazes were like invisible flames that bloomed continuously in the air. The God's shop has opened and there are already 100 alliances there. Weak alliances will be destroyed. This is the style of the ancient dragon wasteland. God Slayer spoke again. His words left his subordinates speechless. Why was their leader so easy to talk to? Why was he tolerating them again and again? They remembered that there was once a small alliance that wanted to join, but their leader was unhappy and destroyed it. The reason was simple. The other party was an alliance formed by a group of old monsters. If the old monsters joined, it would be like the prestige of the God Slayer Alliance. Now, not only did God Slayer not attack, he was even explaining. Did the dozen people on the other side have the right to do so? Moreover, you've all been poisoned and your boundary essence is being depleted. Soon, your combat power will be reduced to 0. So, if you miss this opportunity, there will be no turning back. Chapter 3883. Divine Canon. Sorry, I refuse. Unfortunately, Lin Ling didn't even consider it and directly shook his head. Very good. The cannon god narrowed his eyes and didn't say anything else. His arms shook and rumbled. It was as if his arms had turned into two godly cannons. Looking at his legs, they had actually turned into divine cannons as well. With a bang, waves of air rolled out, and with the help of his tremendous speed, he charged forward. Speed, 1500 world speed. Rumble. Cannons flew across the sky, shocking everyone. Everyone disperse. Lin Ling squinted his eyes, and immediately shouted, while the surrounding Tian Ao and the others quickly dispersed. Currently, their boundary essence was getting lesser and lesser, so they naturally knew that they were no match for him. As for Lin Ling, they knew that when they were walking through the swamp, Lin Ling had used some unknown method to consume his boundary essence the slowest. Therefore, it was all up to Lin Ling now. In reality, they did not know that the reason why Lin Ling lost his realm essence so slowly was because he had 6 dantians. The Tyrant Song sword appeared in his hand, and he held it horizontally in front of him. Then, Lin Ling's eyes flashed, and the spacetime divine steel came crashing down from the sky. Rumble. However, the cannonball was truly terrifying. It shot straight towards the spacetime divine steel, and even the divine steel in the sky was sent flying. At almost the same time, Lin Ling's Eye of Chaos also appeared, affecting his opponent's heart of martial arts. However, it was still useless. The other party was like a cannonball, charging forward bravely, as if his heart of martial arts was flawless. Seeing this, Lin Ling also increased his speed and retreated madly. But at this time, the cannonball suddenly increased its speed again and reached 1600 world speed. This was clearly beyond Lin Ling's current speed. Unless he had fused his talent. Expert, this was a real expert. Go. Lin Ling was not willing to take a direct hit and not retaliate, so when the cannonball came crashing down, countless true inheritance nether swords flew out, intersecting with each other, forming a sword net, cutting through the cannonball. This guy actually has so much boundary essence. The people from the Cannon God Alliance sucked in a breath of cold air. They thought that Lin Ling was the weakest, but from the looks of it, Lin Ling probably also had a treasure to prevent the boundary essence from leaking out. Ding ding dang dang. However, the sword net formed by the true inheritance dark sword was still unable to stop the giant cannon. Boom. Finally, the huge cannon arrived in front of Lin Ling. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a huge fist. God Valor Cannon. With a roar, the cannon exploded. The thick tyrannical song sword was actually bent by that punch. Following that, a terrifying explosion occurred. Rumble. The sky seemed to be blooming with the most gorgeous fireworks. The entire swamp rumbled incessantly. Then, a figure flew out from the huge fireworks and glided along the swamp before finally shooting into the swamp. Lin Ling. Seeing this, Tianao and the others shouted. Their hearts were heavy. That person's strength was so terrifying. He was not a human, but a cannon. In the sky, explosions continued. However, a burly figure stood there and looked at his hands calmly. The gloves that I bought from the shop of gods are indeed amazing. He was the cannon god. He was ranked 347th on the divine list, an expert who was even more terrifying than Wanyan Bupo. Seeing that their leader had killed his opponent with a single punch, the people from the Cannon God Alliance were elated. Boss, you're awesome. Tisk TSK, killing with one shot is so satisfying. Every time I see boss's shot, my blood will boil. However, that guy is quite powerful. He has many tricks up his sleeves. In our alliance, he can be considered a mid-level expert. After all, he is only a mid-level martial ancestor. On the other hand, Chen Ting and the others' faces turned ugly. They had never thought that the depths of the ancient dragon wasteland would be like this. The 100 Alliance competition. The Alliance would fight each other and the weak would be eliminated. Only a truly powerful alliance could stand out and become a dragon. Looking at the God Slayer alliance, they had few people and were weak. They were simply cannon fodder. Rumble. However, at that moment, a loud explosion came from the swamp. The explosion caused everyone to stop laughing and the cannon god's eyes narrowed. The sludge exploded, and a gorgeous figure slowly floated up. This person was dressed in black and had swampy skin. However, his limbs were like dragon claws, and behind him were a large number of gorgeous tentacles that were swaying slightly. Around his body was a snake-like vine. This was the desolate vine. It was obvious that this person had been entangled by the desolate vine when he had fallen into the swamp. Bang! However, under everyone's gaze, the desolate vine that was comparable to a martial god was torn into two by the person. Ah! Everyone's jaws dropped and they were extremely shocked. It's not over yet. On the contrary, that person strode forward in the sky, step by step, and an invisible pressure spread out in all directions. It's you. The cannon god stared at the person's face and immediately recognized him. It was the young man from before. His heart thumped again. Who is this person? How is he still alive after being hit by my shot? One should know that he was ranked 340th on the stairway of the divine board. Even if he did not know the experts on the stairway of the divine board, he had heard of them. However, this was the first time he had seen such an expert. What an interesting talent. With the help of the divine cannon, as a token of my gratitude, I should show you my strength. At this moment, Lin Ling finally stopped in his tracks and looked at him calmly. He knew how strong the cannon god was. In fact, if he had not gone to the Kurishin, he would have had to use all his trump cards to defeat the cannon god. However, he had absolute confidence now and he did not even need to use his trump cards. Bang! The tentacles behind Lin Ling suddenly danced and spun wildly. They formed a powerful force and brought Lin Ling forward. His speed was 1,800 boundary speed. This. The cannon god's eyes widened and he shook his head. Impossible. You should have used up all your boundary essence. Where did you get this strength from? As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared in front of him and threw a punch at him. Divine Valor Cannon. Seeing this, the cannon god also roared furiously. His boundary essence surged, causing his arm to become even thicker. His cannon-like arm also shot out. Rumble. The two fists collided and flames shot up into the sky. Everyone's eardrums started to hurt. The people from the Cannon God Alliance opened their mouths wide. They did not expect the collision to be so intense. Boss, you can definitely win. Someone suddenly roared out in anger. Boom. However, in the next moment, a figure retreated from the explosion. He took 10 steps back and the sky cracked. The swamp under his feet continued to explode, revealing many footprints. This person was the Cannon God. Oh my God. The people from the Cannon God Alliance shouted. To be able to force their boss to retreat and from a small alliance, was this a dream? 10,000 boundary essence? As for the Cannon God, he looked at his fist and his expression changed drastically. Wrong, it's 18,000 boundary essence. Chapter 3884. 100 Leagues Alliance. Shining Cannon, Double Cannon Explosion. Seeing this, Cannon God punched out with his fists like two cannons. Light gathered around his fists, getting brighter and brighter. Rumble. The fists of the two sides approached from afar and collided. This caused a huge shockwave to appear in mid-air, reaching tens of thousands of miles away. Endless heat waves and astral winds swept in all directions. Everyone was lying on the ground, their bodies trembling. Then, they all looked up. Smoke billowed in the sky. After it dispersed, two figures appeared. They were like overlords. Their fists collided, and the space around them cracked. These were dazzling overlords. Of course, Canon God was an overlord, so this was normal. What shocked everyone was the mysterious young man. Alright, let's not fight anymore. At this time, Canon God suddenly retreated. He looked at Lin Ling with fear. From the beginning, he felt that Lin Ling was not simple. That was why he tried to recruit him. However, Lin Ling was also arrogant. He would rather die than submit. Then, the two of them collided violently. Only after he collided with Lin Ling did he realize how terrifying Lin Ling was. 18,000 worlds of power, and his talent was unknown. However, he was definitely of a higher level than him. Most importantly, Lin Ling was in a state of dissipation. What if he was at his peak? Canon God estimated that he would only be able to compete with Lin Ling if he unleashed his full power. So, can we go now? On the other side, Lin Ling smiled faintly. The darkness on his body had quietly retreated. The short confrontation earlier allowed him to have a deeper understanding of his own strength. The realm-swallowing beast's talent had increased and the plump fish soup in the forest had greatly improved Lin Ling's physical strength. He was no longer the same as when he had just entered the Kai Yuan River. Yes. Canon God looked at Lin Ling seriously and then nodded. Of course, he also looked at his own alliance. However, at this moment, no one said anything. No one objected. This was because although the God Slayer alliance had few people, their leader was a true dragon overlord. This should be your first time here, right? This way. Canon God suddenly pointed in a direction and said, originally, I thought that you weren't qualified to go to God's shop. However, after the previous battle, I know that you are qualified to enter the top 100 alliance. However, your alliance is still lacking in numbers because you are the strongest. Thank you. Lin Ling smiled and looked at Tian Ao and the others. He waved his hand and said, let's go. All right. Tian Ao and the others were scared out of their wits. They nodded their heads numbly and followed Lin Ling. What a terrifying junior. The ancient dragon wasteland opens once a month for half a year. I hope there won't be any more experts coming. Canon God said solemnly as he looked at Lin Ling's back. That's right. But this month's new alliances will definitely have a lot of underdogs eating each other. And there's no need to absorb the weak alliances. The only outcome is death. I'm afraid that there are very few alliances that can do such a thing. The God Slayer Alliance has finally crossed the salt pans. The people from the Canon God Alliance said one after another. They knew that after the opening of the ancient dragon wasteland every month, there would be a large number of alliances entering. However, at least half of them would be able to reach God's shop. Once they reached God's shop, they would be eaten by other alliances. There were very few alliances that could stay in God's shop. However, if they could stay, they would be part of the top 100 alliance. This was the elimination rule of God's shop. Lin Ling, how are you so strong? No wonder you could kill those monsters when you were walking through the swamp. You didn't even need to use your boundary essence. I didn't expect you to be the strongest among us. Chen Ting and the others were very happy to follow Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. Then, he looked into the distance. He could vaguely see a huge tower. After entering the ancient dragon wasteland, they had seen either poisonous lakes or swamps. This was the first time they saw a human building. Obviously, that was God's shop. We're here. Lin Ling finally smiled. Chen Ting and the others also looked into the distance. Instantly, they all laughed excitedly. God's shop was said to be a shop left behind by the gods. One could buy treasures from the era of the gods there, allowing one's strength to increase by leaps and bounds. Because of this, the experts of the final world flooded in. Everything was for God's shop. Chen Ting and the others had been training for this period of time for God's shop. Now, they had finally reached the end. Let's speed up. It won't be long before we can walk out of the swamp. Lin Ling was in a good mood. This was because God's shop was his hope to become stronger. After all, in the battle with Longyang 3 years later, without any background, he would not be able to compete with martial god Wen Tian's disciple. Therefore, he would definitely not miss out on God's shop. Moreover, he could find Longyang here. He believed that Longyang was also here for God's shop. After a long time, the group finally walked out of the swamp. The ground and air in front of them were much drier. Stepping on the hard ground, everyone was in a good mood. Looking around, other alliances were also walking out of the swamp. When they saw the high tower in the distance, they all smiled, just like Lin Ling and the others. This was because after a long journey, they had finally reached the end. Of course, this did not mean the end. In fact, just arriving at God's shop meant that the battle had just begun. Lin Ling had a deep understanding of this. After all, not long ago, Canon God was not the strongest in the 100 Leagues. However, he had almost forced Lin Ling to use all his strength. What about the 100 Leagues? At this moment, many excited voices came from behind. So many people. TSK, they are all experts. It seems like everyone wants to use God's shop to become stronger. I heard that there's 100 Leagues here. It was formed 3 months ago when the experts arrived. Hehe, we want to join the 100 Leagues too. The so-called 100 Leagues depends on the number of people. Many people were walking along the dry land, chatting passionately. Hey, I'm Fan Hongyan, an expert from Yaoshan College's Shen San Hall. Are you interested in joining our fan league? I'll give you money. Just name your price. A well-dressed young master suddenly said to the passers-by. At the same time, royal crystals were spilled out. It was obvious that he had a powerful background. He did not care about royal crystals at all. However, his strength was a little embarrassing. He was only on par with Zhuang Yanming. A person like him would not be able to become a leader if he did not rely on money. Moreover, although his alliance had many members, if they encountered a big storm, they would not be able to withstand a single blow. I already have an alliance. I'm not joining. Someone immediately refused. Beat them. Beat them until they join us. Chapter 3885. The 10 Overlords. Hey, did you see those who were beaten up? Are you joining the alliance? Yes. The group of people continued to move forward and soon caught up with Lin Ling and the others. The young master in the lead laughed again. Lin Ling and the others stopped in their tracks. They looked back and shook their heads. Lin Ling said calmly, the so-called 100 Alliance does not rely on numbers. It relies on elites. If you want us to join, you have to defeat him. Yes. After saying that, Lin Ling led Tianao and the rest forward again. They did not want to waste any more time. The one who stayed behind was the platinum evil spirit. Oh, I gave you face and you became arrogant. Not bad, not bad. I, Fan Hongyan, like to fight against people who think they are outstanding. Men, take care of that stupid bodyguard. Yes. Fan Hongyan waved his fan confidently. However, they wanted to defeat the platinum evil spirit with just a group of people? That was obviously impossible. In the time it took for 3 incense sticks to burn, everyone was smashed to the ground, and they all cried out in fear. No, no, don't catch me. I will not be a spicy strip. Yes. What the hell is this? Eating people? Yes. Everyone was scared out of their wits, especially Fan Hongyan. At this moment, he even threw away his folding fan. With snot and tears running down his face, he shouted, "Masters, take him away. I agree to join your alliance, okay?" Yes. Now, he finally understood that numbers were useless. In the end, he still had to rely on strength. 1,000 people alliance could not stop one person from the other alliance. How could such an alliance enter the 100 alliance? In front of the main road, Lin Ling and the rest smiled and continued to move forward. There were many people in front of them. These people looked cold and arrogant. Obviously, they were the masters of the 100 Alliance. They did not care about Fan Hongyan's trash alliance that relied on numbers. Because they knew that such an alliance would definitely be eliminated. That person from the alliance should be from the Shinsan Hall. He doesn't belong to the strongest circle. Those who have been in the strongest circle know that there are always people who are stronger than them. Only the strong cultivators from the Shinsan Hall who are still in the college would think that they are stronger than them. Chen Wu suddenly said with a smile. There were 2 circles in Shinsan Hall. One circle was like Zhong Jin's group, who only cultivated in the academy. The other circle was outside all year round to gain experience. Their strength had long surpassed the limits of the academy. Only Huanyu was their sky. Just like the Snow Wind Academy, all of the Shin 3 halls belonged to the former. Therefore, although Lin Ling was famous in the Shin 3 halls of the various academies, he was only a so-so in the strongest circle. One had to know that within the 36 academies, experts were as common as clouds. People like Lin Ling who had appeared out of nowhere were not few in number, but if he wanted to shake the strongest circle, his current strength was clearly not enough. Lin Ling, you should be the one who fought with Longyang, right? I heard that you're one of the newcomer kings. At this moment, Chen Ting also looked at Lin Ling and said. During this period of time, she had been constantly searching through her memories and finally remembered the name Lin Ling. Oh. You've heard of me? Lin Ling couldn't help but be curious. This was because he had only just stepped into the strongest circle, which was why he was called one of the newcomer kings. Hee, I suddenly remembered your name because of Longyang. Longyang is also a celebrity who appeared out of nowhere. Of course, the one who truly let us know of her is Wendian martial god. After all, the latter is one of the top 10 martial gods. Chen Ting immediately nodded. She was also one of the experts in the strongest circle. In their circle, although the name Longyang was unfamiliar, it was like a firework that bloomed brilliantly. In an instant, many people knew of it. Hee, I didn't expect that I would take advantage of Longyang's glory. Hearing this, Lin Ling immediately shook his head and smiled. It seemed that Wendian martial god had put in a lot of effort for Longyang. Otherwise, based on the current Longyang, she definitely wouldn't be so famous. Longyang, the number 1 newcomer king, has long been recognized by the experts in the strongest circle. Not long ago, in the Academy's martial arts competition, and now that she has entered One World Mountain, her strength and fame have increased by leaps and bounds. I heard that she seemed to have caught the eye of a god and that god wants her to be a trial taker. Chen Ting said again, however, this is only a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. Trial taker? Lin Ling's eyes lit up. Could it be that Wendian martial god's recommendation of his disciple with great fanfare was also for the trial taker? What's One World Mountain? Lin Ling then asked again. It's the same as the Kai Yuan River. It's also a place where the experts in the strongest circle like to explore. It's also a place where opportunities and dangers coexist. There's a heritage crystal there and it's said that it can inherit the position of a god. Chen Ting suddenly said. Her eyes were burning with passion. She seemed to be looking forward to One World Mountain. It could be seen that she had also been to One World Mountain. However, because of her strength, she might not have gone very far. Lin Ling could not help but sigh. He was constantly getting stronger and Longyang was also getting stronger. The two of them were like a race to see who could run faster and who could rush out of the sky. As for Longyang, Lin Ling did not dare to underestimate her. Over the years, he had seen countless monstrous geniuses. However, there were very few people like Longyang who grew by leaps and bounds. As Lin Ling and the others got closer and closer to the tower, Tian Ao and the others' faces became dignified. Experts. Because the whole mountain was filled with experts, they should be the top experts in the Shinsan Hall among the major academies. Such an expert, to the Snow Wind Academy, was undoubtedly extremely rare. These experts should only be a part of it. Yes. Lin Ling also said indifferently. He had already discovered a few existences that were not weaker than canon god. For example, Wanyan Pa from the demon forest was just an ordinary existence here. Lin Ling even discovered that there were a few people who were not weaker than him. Their talent had probably reached the 10th grade. Those experts stood quietly on the mountain peak. A powerful pressure filled the air, making people not dare to approach. The scary thing was that they were all very young, but their strength was so strong that even the old monsters were in awe. That person's strength is probably not weaker than mine. His ancestral power should have reached 100%, and he is half a step into the martial god realm. Although his talent is not as high as mine, his realm makes up for the gap. Yes. And that person has the aura of an innate divine weapon. I'm afraid that he has reached the 3rd grade. If my tyrannical song sword is fully activated, then I still have a chance to compete with him. Otherwise, with the current tyrannical song sword, it is obviously still weak. Yes. There is a martial god realm expert there. TSK, such a young martial god realm expert is really rare. Lin Ling kept muttering to himself. He fully understood what it meant to have experts as many as the clouds. Of course, not only him, even those who came here for the first time sucked in a breath of cold air at this moment. The 100 Great Alliance is led by the 10 Overlords. Chapter 3886. The situation in the ancient dragon wasteland. What is the 100 Alliance? What are the 10 Overlords? A curious voice immediately came. After all, they were late by 3 months, so there were many things they did not understand. The 100 Great Alliance is the strongest 100 alliances in the ancient dragon wasteland. The other smaller alliances have all been absorbed by them. The 100 Great Alliance is the leader, and within the 100 Great Alliance, the 10 Overlords are the strongest. That person said word by word. The 10 Overlords are like the 10 tallest mountains, dominating the gods' shop. Other than the trial of gods, no one dares to provoke them. If you meet them outside the gods' shop, then not only will all your gains be robbed, you will even be swallowed, and then join their alliance. If you refuse, then you will die. The 10 Overlords are so powerful, but do they have the strength? No strength? What a joke. The person who spoke swept his gaze across the crowd. Seeing everyone's serious expression, his mouth raised into a contemptuous smile. The 10 Overlords are the Heaven Alliance. The Heaven Alliance is currently the strongest among the 10 Overlords. It is the combination of the Duan Alliance and the Heaven-Seeking Alliance. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Miao Continent's number 1 family and the new Heavenly Court's Elite Alliance. No wonder they are so powerful. In the crowd, Lin Ling also frowned. He never thought that these two enemies would actually form an alliance. If he, Lin Ling, encountered them, then the trouble would not be small. The second is the Immortal Devil Alliance. This is the alliance of the 9 continents, 10 ferocious immortal temple and the Great Devil sect. That person spoke again. 9 continents, 10 ferocious. Everyone's expression changed again. Although they already knew that they would encounter the 9 continents, 10 ferocious, they did not expect these two ancient beasts to form an alliance. Immortal Temple. Lin Ling suddenly became excited. Sure enough, the Immortal Temple was here. The third is the Death Alliance, the land of eternal slumber of heroic spirits. The most important thing is that the first leader came out this time. Therefore, although the land of eternal slumber of heroic spirits did not form an alliance with the other alliance, the first leader came out personally. One had to know that although the other alliances were powerful, the strongest experts of their respective forces had not come. For example, the Duan Clan Alliance, their Duan lineage martial god had not come. If the land of eternal slumber wanted to go against the Duan Clan's alliance, they would definitely need to send out their leader. It seems that these alliances are at odds with each other, which is to my advantage. Lin Ling said secretly. Since Wanyan Bupo was killed by him, the place where the heroic spirit rested would definitely seek him for revenge. Furthermore, the Duan clan was also eyeing him covetously. Fortunately, these people were not on the same side, and they were also opponents. And this was beneficial to Lin Ling. The fourth is the Creation Alliance. Speaking of which, this alliance is very mysterious. Currently, no one knows what kind of power created it, but all the people who encountered this alliance were killed. The fifth is the Alliance of True Disciples. According to legend, it is an alliance formed by the true disciples of Miao God and the Miao God dynasty. And these are all famous alliances, formed by old monsters, seniors, and others. That person spoke without stopping. Everyone was digesting his words, and their hearts became more and more solemn. It seemed that the opening of the god's shop had indeed attracted the strongest forces in the 9 regions. However, the 10 overlords are not only old monsters and seniors. In fact, in the ancient dragon wasteland, there are even more experts from the 36 academies, so there are 5 new overlords. That person quietly waited for a moment, and when the newcomers had digested most of the information, he spoke lightly. These 5 new overlords are all from the younger generation. The first is the 7th Emperor Alliance. This alliance only recruits people of the Emperor's generation. There are many experts, and the Emperor's aura surges to the sky. Unless you are a subordinate of an Emperor, you are not qualified to join. The second is the Fengyan Tower. This is also an extremely powerful alliance. It is said that currently, they have gathered more than 30,000 experts. Hearing this, someone immediately shouted, 30,000, that's too exaggerated. It's not exaggerated. Moreover, 30,000 experts, none of them are weak. The weak will be eliminated. The third is the Freedom Sword Alliance. The masters of this alliance are the 10 martial gods. Because the mine is very close to here, the alliance is very powerful. The fourth is the Northern Dragon Ice Alliance. This is an extremely mysterious alliance. It is said that there are many beauties inside. Of course, there are many beauties, but their strength is also very strong. The fifth is the Tiandi Alliance. This is an extremely mysterious alliance. The overall strength, the strength of the leader, is currently a mystery. A soft voice, like the wind, floated out. The surrounding mountains were very quiet. The people of each alliance were digesting this information. After all, they are the newcomers. Unless their strength is heaven-defying, they still have to follow the rules of the ancient dragon wasteland. And these 10 overlords are the kings of the 100 Alliance. However, in the next 3 months, it is said that many people will come. The number of people will probably reach 1 million, and all of them are experts. Therefore, the 100 Alliance will only become stronger and stronger. The position of the 10 overlords will never be surpassed. To be honest, I said so much because I am a member of the Fengyan Tower. This time, I am also recruiting you. That person finally said his purpose. It turned out that he wanted to represent the Fengyan Tower to swallow these newcomers' alliances. Upon seeing this, everyone frowned slightly. I know that you are all experts and proud and do not want to be under others. However, I also want to tell you that this is the general trend. A small alliance is not possible because a small alliance cannot challenge the 100 Alliance. If you want to survive, you have to join. Since you want to join the 100 Alliance, why not join the Fengyan Tower? We are after all one of the 10 overlords. This is my advice to you. Of course, whether you want to join or not is up to you. However, there is only one chance. Don't miss it. That person had his hands behind his back, showing his strength. He is a half-step martial god expert. I'll join. I'll join too. However, many people spoke up. They all came from the final world and knew the rules there. Unless you have absolute strength, if you have a strong background or connections, then the pressure to survive will be greatly reduced. Of course, there were also many people who remained silent. These people were more cautious and planned to make a decision after they understood everything. Moreover, there were some confident people among these people. They did not plan to join any alliance. Fengyun Tower, Skyfire, are you bewitching the newcomers again? For the past 3 months, Fengyun Tower has been madly recruiting newcomers. Are you relying on this kind of brainwashing method? However, at that moment, a mocking laugh suddenly came from afar. Then, a large number of young men in dragon robes appeared on a mountain peak. Imperial Qi surged as if they were the emperor. This was the 7th Imperial Alliance. Looking at those experts, the man named Skyfire frowned and became silent. He seemed to be somewhat fearful. However, he did not dare to speak. This did not mean that the Fengyun Tower he was in did not dare to speak. Chapter 3887. God's Store. 7th Emperor Alliance, Scram. Stop acting all high and mighty. You're just a bunch of country bumpkins. A bunch of trash that only knows how to talk and not do anything. These people were obviously the leaders of Fengyun Tower. They were not afraid of the 7th Emperor Alliance. Do you think Fengyun Tower only knows how to use such despicable methods? Gathering people from all the academies and then doing things for you. The golden fleece flower is so pitiful. Do you really think others are idiots? However, if you continue to be unjust, you will be doomed. Just wait, when this matter is exposed, your alliance will automatically collapse. A young man from the 7th Emperor Alliance said calmly. 9 dragons of different colors were circling around him. Most importantly, this person was a martial god expert. With such strength, he could be ranked in the top 200 on the heavenly stairway. Just wait and see. The experts from Fengyun Tower didn't care about the 7th Emperor Alliance's warning. In fact, they were very angry, but they suppressed it because they noticed that another monstrous overlord had appeared on the other side. They didn't want to be the bystander and reap the spoils later. That was why they remained silent. And that was the Northern Dragon Ice Kingdom Alliance. In addition, the Unrestrained Sword Alliance had also appeared. Compared to Fengyun Tower, these 2 alliances would also devour other smaller alliances. However, they would only accept the elites. On the other hand, Fengyun Tower devoured both the strong and the weak. This was the difference. Fengyun Tower had the worst reputation among the 100 alliances. There were even rumors that if this continued, the 100 alliances would be eliminated and devoured. In the end, only the 10 overlords would be left. Outside of the Tiandi League, the other 4 overlords have appeared. It seems like they are all going against each other. In the crowd, Tian Ao saw these experts fighting and couldn't help but say in a serious tone. If the sky falls down, these tall people will block it. We should just keep quiet and make a fortune. Lin Ling didn't care and smiled. There are many experts in the ancient dragon desolate ground. Small alliances like us won't be a thorn in their side. Thus, the more powerful alliances appear, the better. Lin Ling is right. When those great gods fight, us mortals should focus on increasing our strength. Chen Ting immediately agreed. However, there were quite a few people who had the same thoughts as Lin Ling and the others. Many people's eyes were burning with desire. On the surface, they were led by the 10 overlords, but in reality, if they had the chance to exchange for treasures from the shop of gods, they could also soar into the sky. After all, the 100 Realms Alliance had entered 3 months earlier than them. They had an innate advantage. It was not the right time for them to fight head-on. Ancient Dragon Wasteland, 20,000 people came in the first month, 50,000 people came in the second month, 80,000 people came in the third month. I'm afraid there will be around 150,000 people this month, and in the following days, there will be even more people. At this moment, an aged voice suddenly resounded, causing the surrounding mountains to go silent. All the overlords were silent. In the distant tower, the clouds finally dispersed, revealing a huge palace. The palace was mysterious and had no doors or windows, only a huge platform. And on the platform, a white-haired old man stood there with a smile, his eyes looking at the dense crowd. When they saw the old man, everyone's face turned serious. Especially those from the 100 Realms Alliance. They clearly knew that this person was the 10th grade divine paladin, one of the 4 great gods, the Kurishin. He was also the caretaker of the Shop of Gods. All the treasures were exchanged through that person. As for the palace behind the old man, it should be the Shop of Gods. However, although there were countless treasures in the palace, it was obvious that no one dared to snatch them. Everyone was doing things according to the rules. You guys have come from far away, all for the divine treasure. Now that you have come here after so many twists and turns, I'm sure you newcomers are very curious about what the Shop of Gods has. The old man smiled faintly, his voice spreading to the surrounding mountains. Everyone licked their lips and looked at the old man. Their expressions were like children waiting to be given candy. Alright, I'll stop teasing you. Alright, I won't tease you anymore. I'll get straight to the point. There are countless treasures in God's shop, and they are divided into 5 categories. The first category is God's inheritance treasures, which were collected by Lord Black God. They were left behind by the gods of the old gods era, and they were the treasures of their entire lives. There are 4 of them in total, and if you want to exchange for them, you need a lot of things. The old man smiled and pointed to the sky, as if an immortal was guiding the way. Suddenly, 4 big words appeared in the sky. Wind, forest, fire, mountain. These were the 4 lower gods of the old gods era. They had fallen, so their treasures were left behind. It was like a treasure house, and one only needed to exchange for the corresponding treasures. Divine treasure. Everyone trembled, and they were so excited that they almost fell to the ground. That feeling was as if those treasures belonged to them. Of course, although some of the calmer people were excited, they clearly knew that obtaining one of the 4 treasures was more difficult than ascending to the heavens. The second type is the divine embryo inheritance. There are a total of 6 of them. Those who obtain the divine embryo will surpass the ultimate desolate body, becoming a god in one step. As for what divine embryo they are, I can only say that they are lower god divine embryos. If you can obtain them, you will benefit greatly. The old man said again. Divine embryo inheritance? Heavens! Many people held their breaths. The limit of the ultimate desolate body was to transform into a divine embryo. Therefore, the divine embryo inheritance also represented the complete transformation from a mortal to a god. Those who had divine embryos were true gods. And 6 divine embryos meant that 6 people could become gods. The third type is the wondrous treasures. It records all kinds of rare treasures, a total of 8,432 kinds. I will not introduce them one by one. I will give you 3 incense sticks worth of time to take a look. Light bloomed in the sky, as if flowers were sprinkling in every corner. A large number of treasure phantoms appeared, as treasure light soared into the sky. Everyone held their breaths as they stared intently at the sky. Even Lin Ling and company were the same. They were all looking for treasures that were suitable for them. Fruit of fortune, fruit of good, fruit of fate, all of them are available. Soon, Lin Ling's body trembled. He had found the treasure he needed. There were all 3 kinds of fruits. This gave Lin Ling a shock. This shop of God was indeed rich. This also meant that his trip to the ancient dragon desolate land was not in vain. Dragon Ball? Murder clothes? Following that, Lin Ling saw a rare treasure that could increase his talent. Dragon Ball was clearly an item that could increase the dragon god's talent. As for the murder clothes? Chapter 3888. The use of the golden fleece flower. As for the great ominous person, it represented an ominous aura. Naturally, it did not fear the divine ominous clothing. The ominous clothing was suitable for increasing the talent of the realm-swallowing beast. Other than that, Lin Ling also saw many rare treasures. Some could increase one's physical strength, some could increase one's realm essence, ancestral power, and other fruits. Lin Ling also saw flowers that could increase one's dantian. Of course, one could only consume one flower to increase one's dantian. It was much worse than the chaos deity formula. Other than increasing one's dantian, there were also many inheritances of ultimate desolate physiques. Some had limits similar to the time and space divine steel, while others had limits that exceeded the time and space divine steel. As for the most basic treasures that could increase one's cultivation level, they were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. They were also divided into different types, such as fire, wind, and so on. You have seen enough. Now, let's move on to the fourth type, the divine type. As time passed, the old man smiled again and waved his right hand. This time, martial arts and divine abilities appeared. These martial arts and divine abilities were all left behind from the era of gods. They were extremely powerful. Lin Ling even saw an incomplete version of the calamity-destroying Sun Bao. Furthermore, he saw the illusionary god world. It could be said that more than half of the divine abilities and martial arts that had appeared in the 9 prefectures had appeared here. There were also many martial arts and divine abilities that had never appeared in the 9 prefectures before. As for the 5th category, it was the various divine artifacts. There were acquired divine artifacts, innate divine artifacts, and some of them were even apocalyptic treasures that could kill martial gods. Of course, although these treasures were terrifying, they had corresponding side effects. Therefore, although they seemed to be powerful, they were also ranked last in the divine artifacts category. Divine inheritance treasures, divine embryos, mystical treasures, divine arts, and divine weapons. The 5 types of treasures were displayed one after another, especially the first and second types. These were undoubtedly rare treasures that could not be bought even if one had the money. This was because these were all necessary to become a god. Everyone's eyes continued to flicker, and all of them revealed the same expression. It was a desire to possess, and it was as if they wanted to take all the treasures for themselves. Their hearts were also pounding non-stop. When he saw their expressions, the old man on the platform just smiled without saying a word. It was as if he knew what they were thinking. The elders of the Great Hundred Alliance were also smiling, but they weren't mocking him. This was because they had the same expression when they first saw God's shop. This silence lasted for an entire hour. The people's excited gazes gradually calmed down. Lin Ling was the same. He clenched his fists and gradually calmed down because he knew that although the treasure was tempting, he had to be able to obtain it. Therefore, the most important thing was how to exchange for it. There is no lack of smart people among you. From your eyes, I can see that you want to know how to exchange for treasures. Then, I'll tell you, golden fleece flower, everything can be exchanged with golden fleece flower. The old man looked at the crowd mysteriously. A golden light appeared in his hand. Then, the light gradually dimmed and turned into a golden knotweed. What is this? As for the golden fleece flower, many people were obviously confused. Is it that thing? On the other hand, Lin Ling and the others' expressions changed, especially Tianao and the others. They looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. This was because Lin Ling had a golden fleece flower in his hand. This golden fleece flower was taken from Huang Lu. At that time, they had expended all their efforts to get it. When they thought of how the Canon Gods Alliance attacked Huang Teng, the mystery in their hearts was suddenly solved. It was all because of the golden fleece flower. No wonder. Lin Ling also had a golden fleece flower in his hand. He smiled. Not long ago, he felt that this golden light was the key. Now, it seemed that it was indeed the case. Of course, other than Lin Ling, many people in the surrounding hills also had golden fleece flower. At this moment, they were looking at the treasures in their hands in shock. Hee, some of you are very careful and have already collected some golden fleece flower. This shows that you are very curious about the treasures of heaven and earth. However, I can tell you that these golden fleece flower are of no use to you. If you want, you can exchange them for treasures in God's shop. And for those who have golden fleece flower, you can immediately open God's shop. The old man's voice floated out like the wind, causing those who had golden fleece flower to smile excitedly. They had put in so much effort to get the golden fleece flower, which gave them extraordinary privileges. Is it useless? Compared to the others, Lin Ling did not express his opinion. This was because he faintly felt that the golden fleece flower had an effect, which was to train one's willpower. Willpower was something that martial artists could do without, but it was also something that they could not do without. Most of the time, willpower could not be easily displayed, so most martial artists did not care much about it. Moreover, Lin Ling suddenly remembered that the Kurishin had once told him that Xiaoluan was the host of the will of the world. The will of the world was very likely to use Xiaoluan's body to revive in this world. What Xiaoluan could do was to use his willpower to resist. Could it be that all of this had happened because of Xiaoluan? Thinking of this, Lin Ling gasped. The Kurishin was too generous. Of course, this was only Lin Ling's conjecture. Lin Ling, hand over the golden fleece flower. At this time, Chen Ting nudged Lin Ling, causing Lin Ling to react. He looked over and saw that those who had golden fleece flower had already handed over their golden fleece flower. In exchange, those people also had a jade token in their hands. Immediately, Lin Ling followed suit, causing many people to be envious. After all, they did not have golden fleece flower, so they could only watch as Lin Ling's group familiarized themselves with God's shop. And those who had a jade token in their hands immediately checked it. They immediately realized that the jade token had a blood-binding effect. It was like a chinkuan bag that could be used to store items. Moreover, it could be used to purchase items. This meant that even if they were not on the platform, they could directly exchange for treasures. However, there was a rule. They could only exchange for the last 2 treasures. The first 3 treasures had to be exchanged on the platform. In addition to this, there was another benefit. That was, the prices of the 5th type of divine weapon treasures had all appeared. Flying boots, increase speed by 500 worlds, 10 golden fleece flower. Sky treading boots, increase speed by 800 worlds, 50 golden fleece flower. Divine sky boots, increase speed by 1000 worlds, 100 golden fleece flower. Yuang sword, increase power by 50%, 50 golden fleece flower. Yuang divine sword, increase power by 80%, 100 golden fleece flower. Chapter 3889. The Giant Ghost's Reminder. Ranked 2nd was the Curse of the Gods. It had a mysterious power and could seal a martial god. There were a total of 5 curses, and the price was 50,000 golden fleece flower. Of course, although these most expensive divine weapons were powerful, they were all consumables. However, to kill a martial god? Everyone who had a jade pendant sucked in a breath of cold air. If they had such a taboo treasure in their hands, why would the martial god fear them? However, 100,000 golden fleece flower? It was so scary. After all, they had only obtained a single golden fleece flower after battling the desolate tree and other poisonous creatures. 100,000? He didn't know how many he would have to kill. Even if he died in the mouth of the poisonous tree, he wouldn't be able to complete the task. Looking at the other treasures, the lowest starting price was 10 golden fleece flower. Expensive, too expensive. Lin Ling was also looking at the jade token. His gaze finally landed on the great heaven world destruction flag, and his breathing instantly became heavy. He had killed the martial god. He immediately thought of martial god Wen Tian. With the treasures left behind by the deities and his familiarity with Wen Tian martial god, it would not be a problem to kill him. Lin Ling's eyes lit up in an instant. He was extremely excited. He knew it was not difficult to kill Wen Tian martial god, but it would take some time. And he didn't want to wait that long. Therefore, if he had these treasures, he would be able to shorten the time by half. Remember, there is only one treasure. If you buy it, it's gone. So, if you see something you like, buy it as soon as possible, especially the 6 divine embryos. If you miss it, it's gone. Also, if you have a jade token, you can only see the price of the 4th divine artifact if you buy the 5th divine artifact, and only then can you see the price of the 3rd divine artifact, and so on. At this moment, the old man's smiling voice drifted out once more. As soon as these words were spoken, all the people in the surrounding mountains became excited. Their eyes were filled with madness. Boom! Boom! There was a roar in his heart. They had obviously gone mad for these treasures. Go, open your path to becoming stronger. The 100 Great Alliance, after the gods, heroes will rise together. Who can stand against you? When the old man's last words drifted out, the people in the various mountain ranges began to disperse. That was because even though there seemed to be a lot of treasures, they could still be bought up. Especially treasures that one had taken a fancy to. If it was bought by someone else, then it would be gone. Therefore, people wanted to gain the upper hand by making the first move. Moreover, in order to obtain a jade plate, one must obtain the first golden fleece flower to exchange for a jade plate. This was the first step everyone had to take. They are very excited, but when they realize the danger of the wasteland, their excitement will slowly be suppressed. The powerhouses of the Great 100 Alliance smiled faintly as they watched the newcomers leave. Because the treasures were rare, the competition was fierce. Only a true dragon could rise to prominence. At this moment, Lin Ling and the others had also left the tower area and were rushing outside. TSK, what a crazy treasure. Even the giant ghost, who was beside Lin Ling, said, I actually saw the immortal fruit. According to legend, those who have this fruit will not die even when they are at the martial god realm. They will not die even once. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes burned with passion, but he calmed down and said, there are many treasures and they are all very rare. However, if we want to obtain them, we will need more golden fleece flower. Currently, it seems that it will be difficult for us to obtain even one golden fleece flower, let alone hundreds or thousands. Lin Ling could not help but think of the desolate willow. That monster was at the martial god realm and it was killed in the process of refining it. What if they wanted to kill the desolate willow in their prime? It would be difficult. Moreover, the golden fleece flower was rare. Therefore, if the other alliances encountered the desolate willow, they would not miss it. If you don't kill it, they will. It would be like robbing a treasure. Lin Ling, this golden fleece flower is unique to the Kaiyuan River. According to legend, it is also one of the world wills. However, this is only the world will of the Kaiyuan River and it is produced continuously. The golden fleece flower that you encountered before was devoured by the monster. In fact, there are many golden fleece flower that have not been discovered by the monster. At this time, the giant ghost spoke again. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. The giant ghost seems to be very familiar with the golden fleece flower. Giant ghost, do you know where those golden fleece flower are? Lin Ling stopped and asked excitedly. This also made Tian Ao and the others curious, but they did not stop Lin Ling. The giant ghost used a voice that only Lin Ling could hear and said faintly, I can only find the general direction, and this is only a general direction. However, if your evil ghost jellyfish enters the ground, in addition to the small kunlun, then the search for the golden fleece flower will be clearer. This can also work. Lin Ling was stunned. He did not think of this method. Moreover, if this method could work, then why didn't the others use it? The underground of the ancient dragon desolate land is extremely ancient. It can also block many detection methods. Even for those experts who are proficient in water and earth element, their methods would be like stones sinking into the sea after entering the ground. The reason is that this desolate land can only allow the monster tree to grow. However, the small kunlun is also a tree. Therefore, it is not afraid of the law of the ground. The giant ghost said. Lin Ling immediately looked at the small kunlun. The small kunlun's consciousness followed Lin Ling's arm and swam towards the ground. It looked like a desolate vine. Moreover, it swam deeper and deeper, like a fish in water. Seeing this, Tian Ao and the others were stunned. What was Lin Ling doing? Suddenly releasing a plant and then standing there like a fool? This Lin Ling, we have not obtained a jade token. We must immediately obtain a golden fleece flower to exchange for a jade token. Do you think we should hurry? Chen Ting whispered. Boom. However, just as she finished speaking, the soil on the ground began to churn. A black vine was growing. When it reached the height of a human, the leaves on the vine shone with golden light. When the leaves opened, a golden fleece flower the size of a small stone appeared. Damn, isn't that the golden fleece flower? What's going on? What the hell is this vine? Tian Ao and the others were stunned. Then, they were overjoyed. This was because they did not expect Lin Ling to find the golden fleece flower so quickly. There were many people who were passing by. When they saw this, they were jealous and almost wanted to snatch it. However, after hesitating for a while, they quickly left. Perhaps they thought that since Lin Ling and the others could find the golden fleece flower so easily, there should be many outside. However, only the people from the Great Hundred Alliance knew that there were many golden fleece flower outside. However, the prerequisite was that you could find it and obtain it. Compared to Tian Ao and the others who were overjoyed, Lin Ling was almost going crazy. This was because when the small Kunlun entered the ground, it began to take root and germinate. It began to produce branches and leaves. Everything within a radius of 1,000 miles was under its control. This meant that if there were many golden fleece flower underground, the small Kunlun could immediately find it and dig it out. If it went to a place where there were many golden fleece flower, wouldn't it be easy to obtain the golden fleece flower? Boom. Boom. Chapter 3890. This was shocking news. Treasure. He would be able to buy all the treasures he wanted. Let's go, let's get out of here. Lin Ling's eyes were red as he hurriedly led everyone away. At this moment, everyone's jaws dropped. They were surprised that Lin Ling was so excited, but they quickly followed after Lin Ling. On the ancient wasteland, Lin Ling sprinted all the way as if he had gone mad. Beside him was the giant ghost, and behind him was the golden white evil ghost. Wherever they passed, the passers-by were stunned, and then many people from the Great Hundred Alliance laughed mockingly. Hee hee, this must be a newbie. Do you think that golden fleece flower is everywhere? He's treating the golden fleece flower as a radish. In a while, he will know what a golden fleece flower is. When he walks out of the wasteland, he won't even see a single hair of the golden fleece flower, let alone a golden fleece flower. It's not easy to find one, but it was refined by those poisonous creatures. Don't bother about him. A newbie is a newbie. He doesn't know any better. Those people said disdainfully and headed in another direction. And beside them, Tian Ao and the others also quickly passed by. After hearing those words, their faces turned ugly. In fact, they already knew that the golden fleece flower was not easy to get. They didn't need those people to tell them what to do. But what surprised them was why Lin Ling was so excited. No. It shouldn't be that he was excited, but that he had gone mad, as if he had seen an endless amount of treasure. Lin Ling, haven't you always been very calm? Chen Ting blinked and asked. Chen Wu instantly shook his head helplessly. Perhaps Lin Ling was bewildered by those treasures as well. Alas, even though the treasures are tempting, what's the point of being unable to obtain them? Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and follow Lin Ling. Tian Ao and the rest said as they ran. They had been running for 6 hours. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Ling's route was not dangerous, they would have given up halfway. Not long after, the group arrived at a red earth ruin. Looking around, it could be said that this was a desolate place. Not to mention plants, there were not even many rocks. Moreover, the ground was hard, comparable to a salt pan. This. Chen Ting and the others were speechless. Lin Ling had been running like crazy, and then came to this place? No matter how he looked at it, there didn't seem to be any golden fleece flower here. At this moment, Lin Ling looked at everyone with a smile. That smile made everyone's hair stand on end. They almost thought that Lin Ling had gone crazy. After all, how could Lin Ling smile in such a stingy place? Do you guys think I'm crazy? As if he knew what everyone was thinking, Lin Ling looked at them with a smile. However, this smile made Tianao and the others think that Lin Ling was crazy. In the end, Wu Jiang nodded. They don't dare to say it, so I'll say it. I really think so. After all, even though the God's store is rare, it requires the golden fleece flower to exchange for it. Moreover, the golden fleece flower is extremely difficult to obtain. Leader, you should have seen it for yourself. In the end, he still didn't dare to challenge Lin Ling's position too much, so he also called him leader in the end. Of course, his words also represented everyone's thoughts. Everyone looked at Lin Ling eagerly. Lin Ling shrugged and said calmly, the reason why I'm so excited is because I've already found more than 100 golden fleece flower. Moreover, they're right under our feet. The giant ghost knew the general direction of the golden fleece flower, and Lil Kunlun could find the exact location. Therefore, Lin Ling was extremely confident. What? More than 100? Leader, you're not joking, right? Yeah, we were almost swallowed by the wild willow for a golden fleece flower. Now, you're saying that there are more than 100? Big brother, tell me. Tell me, is this a lie? Everyone said at the same time. Their eyes were burning, and smoke was coming out of their nostrils. That was because they couldn't ignore the God's store. They just didn't have the confidence to obtain the treasures inside. However, Lin Ling said that he could obtain more than 100 golden fleece flower. How could they not be tempted? Immediately, Lin Ling didn't hide anything. He roughly explained Lil Kunlun's abilities. The more he spoke, the faster Tianao and the rest's hearts beat. That was because they knew that the wasteland's underground was very mysterious. It was as if it was a world of its own. Only those poisonous creatures could survive here. That was why those poisonous creatures were extremely powerful. However, Lin Ling's vines could also work. Lin Ling, are you sure? Tianao's eyes were bloodshot, and his body was trembling. Lin Ling, don't lie to me. Don't give me hope and then kill it. Chen Ting and her sister were also shouting in shock. Looking at their faces, they were all going crazy. They were as excited as Lin Ling was previously. In fact, they were even more excited than him. Lil Kunlun, it's up to you. Lin Ling nodded at everyone. The vines on his left arm extended out and then entered the ground. The wasteland didn't seem to hinder the growth of plants. After Lil Kunlun entered the ground, it immediately grew up crazily. Those roots and vines were like a spider web, spreading in all directions. Moreover, they went deeper and deeper, as if they were about to break through the limits of the wasteland. Tianao and the rest looked at Lin Ling anxiously. At the same time, they were on high alert so that no one would disturb Lin Ling. Evil ghost jellyfish, go. Lin Ling immediately summoned the evil ghost jellyfish. Instantly, the jellyfish followed the vines and started to search in all directions. 1 golden fleece flower. 2. 3. Lin Ling's eyes became brighter and brighter. The corners of his mouth curled up into an excited smile. There's a chance. Look at the smile on our leader's face. There must be a chance. Looking at Lin Ling's expression, everyone felt as if they were struck by lightning. Zhuang Yanming was even drooling. If it weren't for the fact that they had to be on high alert, they would have held hands and danced. After a while, Lin Ling finally raised his head and looked at everyone solemnly. Leader, how many are there? Everyone looked at Lin Ling. 323. Lin Ling said in a low voice. Fuck. Tianao roared angrily. So many? Chen Ting and her brother's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Their jaws almost hit the ground. We're rich. We're going to be rich. Luo Wuchang circled around Lin Ling excitedly. The corners of his mouth were trembling. 320. How many treasures could they buy with that? Indeed, we're going to be rich. This is only a small part of the golden fleece flower in the wasteland. There are countless golden fleece flower in the entire wasteland. If we collect all of them, we might even be able to buy the god's legacy treasure. Lin Ling's eyes were bloodshot. He was obviously very excited. You guys stay here and guard this place. I'll ask the evil ghost jellyfish and Lil Kunlun to bring all the golden fleece flower here. Lin Ling instructed solemnly. All right, Lin Ling, go ahead. Even if the god comes, I'll block him for you. Tian Ao roared immediately. Chen Ting, who was beside him, kicked him. Why are you shouting so loudly? Aren't you afraid that others will hear you? Then, everyone dispersed and looked around vigilantly. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.